everybody, and welcome to the 5th MCU movie episode. I am Mike Albertin, and who is with me tonight? God, I forgot the local quotes.
The Star-Spangled Man with a Plan, Michael K. Hughes.
And the arbiter of truth, justice, and the American way, Bill Tucker. Wait, wrong character. Wrong paragon of American values. Oops, sorry.
Oh, we'll get back into him. I got some notes about that.
Oh, do you now?
I had looked up things I wanted to say, but then I forgot to write them down. And when I started talking, I'm like, oh shit, I forgot. Oh well.
Yeah, it happens.
So,
just say you can do this all day.
I was gonna say that's actually what I was gonna go with. I was gonna go with that because I could do this all day. I keep doing this all day. But
I've got 3 of them. I've got those 2 and 90-pound asthmatic.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good one.
All right. So, as many as you will know, because you read the title of this episode, we are going to be covering Captain America, the first Avenger. And yes, I know it's on purpose this time. And first, I want to talk about because I hadn't seen this movie since Age of Ultron released, so 2015, something like that. 2016, nothing.
Oh, wow.
I can't remember. Okay, but so I should say before we get too far, this came out in 2011.
Yes.
And this was also still distributed by Paramount Pictures, but I think stops shortly after this. I can't remember.
Catch that.
I just had the Wikipedia opened up. I wouldn't have caught it either. I wasn't paying attention. That doesn't matter. That's neither here nor there. But the first time I seen this movie was back when Age of Ultron came out, and I remember seeing it in theaters, loving it. I remember seeing it when Age of Ultron came out, loving it. Well, actually, one thing I want to quickly say, when I first saw this movie, it also kind of helped raise it in a higher plateau for me when I first saw it, was I actually had gotten a buddy of mine had gotten early passes to see this movie for free at some random theater, and I saw it a week or two before it released, and somehow I used to work night shift. Somehow I wasn't working night shift that day and was able to go, and I've never forgotten that experience. And they also had a promotional comic for DC New 52 on everybody's share. It also kind of made me laugh. Here we're seeing a Marvel movie, they're advertising DC Comics, but
That's interesting. Huh.
That's cool.
That was my first memory. How about you, Bill?
I saw this when it came out in theaters. I remember being pretty cool on it. I remember thinking it was fine, but I wasn't exceedingly over the moon about it. I like it much better the second time around. I was surprised how much I was enjoying myself. So, but yeah, no, just saw it in theaters. Probably second or third week. Back in those days, I wasn't doing the opening weekend type of thing. Yeah, basically just I was just starting to write reviews too, and I think my review was like a 6 out of 10. I could actually go back to those old reviews and look at them, but that's embarrassing.
Yeah,
I don't
want to
do
such a thing.
No, God, no. I don't want to read like my old stuff from 10 years ago. God.
Go ahead.
No, that was it. That's all I got.
Okay. Yeah, I saw it in theaters too. I remember being about the same. It's like that sure is a Captain America origin story, and then I've probably seen it once or twice since then. But yeah, this was a good time to rewatch it. I think it was good. Oh, I should say before we get any further in, wonderful weather we're having this morning, isn't it?
Good thing I brought an umbrella. Is that how it went?
Something like that. Something about an umbrella.
I saw it. I knew what you were referencing. But I didn't
yeah, I know.
I'm
trying to place a reference again. Yeah, I just saw this last night. So
I think she says it is, but I always carry an umbrella. Just
that's right. Okay, now I get it. Now I'm with you. Yeah. I'm with you. When gun-toting grandma. I have gun-toting grandma in my notes. How could I not? It's great.
Aunt May with the freaking machine gun.
Yeah, she looks like Aunt May so much.
Yeah.
From the first Spider-Man movies.
We'll get there, but yes, now I'm with you. Yes, you need that code to listen to this show. You see, you can't.
That's right.
You can't play it.
All right, so start. So I also like the way that this movie starts, because it starts off, I don't think it even says what year it is. It just shows somebody finding a plane in Antarctica or somewhere in the Arctic. Maybe not Antarctica, somewhere in the Arctic. I can't remember which is North Pole or South Pole, but that doesn't matter. Oh yeah, Antarctica's North Pole. So we're somewhere up there. And you just see somebody get into a plane. They you see them find the plane, cut a hole in the plane, jump into plane. And that's just how the movie starts. Like, it doesn't just start. I mean, you're definitely not in 1940s. You don't know where you are. And I love how the guy comes up to, like, they go up to the ice and they're like, you better call someone, and you just see the frozen shield in the ice. And I mean, me being me, I'm like, oh my God. But I love Captain America, one of my favorite characters in Marvel.
Yeah, they definitely set up pretty early that it's not an 1842 with a lightsaber on a stick drilling into the hull of the ship.
Oh my god, that thing was so stupid. My wife was like, "That doesn't look good. That doesn't look."
I didn't
good.
even notice that. Really, I wasn't paying attention. I guess.
Yeah, it's a spinning lightsaber drill. Yeah, no good.
Roll of cool.
But I love that's the way it starts, and then it jumps to the 1940s, and I think that's just such a cool way to do it. Like they show you that, hey, they found Captain America. Forget that. We'll get back to it. Here's what happened, and it's very cool. Like I really liked it when it opens up in this little Norway town in 1942. I want to say, and then when it has like the Nazis burst into like this little church? Let's say.
Well, like a monastery kind of thing.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
It's cool, and I want to say there was a line. No, line I'm thinking of was later. Okay, never mind. There's a part where they talk about digging the desert that made me laugh.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm just like Indiana Jones. I forget at some point when Red Skull is talking to Nazi officials, and he says, like how he's looking for a cult, and they're like something about while he's digging the desert, I'm finding this, and all I could think of was looking for the Ark of the Covenant. That's all that came in my head. I
think it's this scene. I think it's when he pulls the Tesseract out of the mural.
Okay, that whole part was well done. Like you have the actor Hugo Weaving. Did I say that right?
Yeah, Hugo Weaving.
Or Mr. Smith, as I kept calling him during this movie.
Mr. Smith, yeah.
I don't know if I want to do that again, like in Thor. And you have, I like it that everything's normal. He's just a Nazi. But I like how they don't ever really show any swastikas at all in this movie. Like they hide it as best as they can, even though. Like you can see, if you know what you're looking at, like in the hat he's wearing, you can see the little. That symbol. It's in the eagle that he has on the helmet. You can barely see it, but it's there. Like I know the symbol. It's a symbol of the Death Squad. But that's because I study World War II. So, but if you're someone that wasn't as educated about World War II, you won't catch it, which is what they're going for, because they're trying to say, hey, they're Nazis at the same time. They're like, yeah, we're not going there. They're Hydra.
Yeah, and they really do shed the Hitler thing too. They try as fast as possible to shed any linkage to Nazism or Hitler later on in the movie, probably about a third in. But yeah, no, I didn't notice any Nazi symbolism at all. I wasn't looking for it, but
you don't see a single swastika. You just see certain things that, like you see the armband. One guy has the armband, but they never get to the swastika. They show you the red, and they barely show you a little bit of white, but they never show you the black inside the white circle.
Yeah, that imagery is not fun in your little comic book movie. I'm sure they wanted to steer clear of a lot of that. They make references, right? Like the Fuhrer and things of that nature. So,
Well, you probably have the swastika when you have Hitler later on, the fake Hitler. He probably has the swastika. Okay, that was probably the only part then when you see it.
I want to say one of those, like, the military propaganda movies has a pretty brazen flag on it. Okay. I don't know. I think everyone's so desensitized to it anymore. It's, you don't register.
In 2011, it wasn't. They were gone in 2011. But I like, because I'm big into World War II, so I'm like, hey, show it. I want to see them, taking them out and burning the flags of Nazis and stuff. But that's just because I'm a World War II guy. So that's a little different. But I like the way the movie opens up, and I like how you have them burst into this church looking for this artifact, and they move the coffin, and the guy picks up like this glass-looking cube, and he just breaks, and then when he just breaks, he's like, "This ain't real."
Yeah.
Match.
I thought my fake Tesseract would fool them. And then I love the fact that in a very movie moment, he kind of just casually looks around and goes, "Oh, there he is. It's hidden in the wall behind. Oh, if I just push in this snake eye."
Yeah, that bothered me a little bit.
Yeah, it's very like, like that was the great master plan this monk had to hide the Tesseract behind a fake wall. Like no one could just flip around.
Like, what if somebody knocks into it? Like, what if a little kid just start touching the wall because that's what a kid would do? Oh, what's this little thing here? Oh, and they blow up. Like, it bothered me a little bit, even though it's nitpicking. But
it's nitpicky. I know it's nitpicky, and it's fine. It's fine. But it was just made me laugh. I was like, oh, there it is. That wasn't hard.
I like how he's like, if you tell me, I'll spare everyone. And I don't think he still tells him, or he says something. He's like, shoot him. He's like, shoot everybody.
Right.
Permission to fire. I want to say the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen movie starts off in a really similar fashion with it's somewhere in Europe and a tank is driving around gray streets. It's either that or Hellboy, I want to say, has a very similar opening to this movie.
I don't remember. I don't remember. I've seen both, but I don't remember.
It's been a while.
I've seen parts of both, but I've never seen either movie in full.
It was enough to make me put it in my notes, so I figured I'd mention it.
Yeah, no, that's cool. It maybe somebody out there has seen both and goes, yeah, absolutely. You're so right.
Probably very, very, I would say very for sure, because those are both movies that I want to say a lot of people have seen. And if you're listening to something like this, you probably have seen both those movies. I just never have. Not both. I should have. We'll talk about maybe someday. And also, like, I love the symbolism they do in this first scene. Like, after he kills this guy, and the blood splatters onto Red Skull, on the little Hydra symbol that he has on his chest is a skull with a Hydra legs, tentacles, and you can see the blood just go right just on the skull itself. And I was like, you did it,
very
guys.
Good. Very good.
Yeah, this was the first time I caught that too.
Yeah. And I forgot to mention, this is only the second time I've seen this. Since I first saw it 10 years ago, I never watched it again. So, yeah, it was very cool. Very nice little bit of mini foreshadowing.
Okay, I'm glad that we were able to. Well, this time I do have to ask: was this a Blu-ray or a DVD?
No, you know what? Amazon Prime has a lot of these. I didn't buy it. Again, it was a 6 out of 10. Come on now, I'm not buying 6 out of 10s. I'm not an archivist. I buy the ones I like.
Can't believe you didn't like this movie. I'm glad Amazon Prime. This is also on Disney Plus too. Well, by the time you're listening to this will still be on Disney Plus because it's Disney Plus. It kind of has something on there. Hey, I only had 2 freezing during watching this. Only frozen me twice where I had to back out and go back into it. So, fuck Disney Plus. Oh, but. And this is when you first get introduced then to Steve Rogers. Like, when I first saw it, it is just weird how they do this, even though now I know they took a little actor and filmed him in these parts and then put Chris Evans' face on him, or Chris Evans' head. And it just looks weird because it's a little scrawny guy for a first part of this movie. Yeah. Real little guy.
Yeah, it was super uncanny valley for me. And again, I tried to divorce myself from how I know he looks, how I know the Captain America character looks, but it was really still like, oh, that's okay. Like, he did a good job, but I don't know. It's an uncanny valley. That's what it is.
Hey, it looks better than Blade 2 CGI, so it has that going for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of those shots in Blade 2, not great.
If you don't know what Chris Evans looks like, or you hadn't seen anything in this movie, you just walked in, I mean, it probably wouldn't be as offsetting for you.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it bothered me a little bit just because, I know what Chris Evans looks like. I've seen all these movies now. But I'm like, okay, I buy it. Like, I like how when you're introduced to him, it's in the whole enlistment thing where he's trying to enlist. I think at this time it's the 4th time. Like, they make a comment like, where are you from now, Steve?
Right.
Yeah.
Because he just keeps trying, which I think is, I think it says a lot about his character, too. I mean, that's the point of it. But I like how it does that. It's showing, like, he wants to fight even though the guy's an asthmatic, even though the guy is little. Like, and all these people are going off to die, but that's what he wants to do. And I think I like how they do that. I love how they present that to you.
Asthmatic, he's got every disease on the known planet. You just see that laundry list of ailments? There's like 8 things on there. And the doctor's, he goes, the asthma, it was just the asthma alone would keep you out of here. I like the line that the doctor does say. He says, I am helping you. I'm saving your life, or something like that.
Yeah.
So can't you do something? It's like, I am saving your life.
There you go. That's it.
So then he stamps the form and it says 4F. Do you guys know what that means by chance? My wife and I were both kind of wondering it.
I do not know.
Nothing?
No, I'm trying to think of something witty to say. For failure? I don't know.
Yeah, well.
I don't know. No, I'm assuming bad. I mean.
Yeah, well, yeah.
He did walk away, and it's an F. An F is kind of the universal standard for failure. So
that's fair.
And not teasing. I honestly don't know if that's an actual medical designation from the military or if that's a real thing. I don't know.
I have to look it up later.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah. I'm curious now too. But another thing I forgot to mention is when you had Red Skull earlier talking when he gets to Cosmic Cube or Tesseract. He does mention about Odin and Odin's treasure room.
Oh, yeah. He did. Yes.
And I was like,
yeah,
it made me smile.
That was good.
I was right. The fewer digs for trinkets in the desert is a reference to the events of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Nice.
Because
that's crazy.
Yeah, okay. Because I guess Marvel also published a comic adaptation of that classic film, so maybe they had some. But I guess it was actually supposed to be a reference to that, because that's all I heard when I saw it. I'm like, they're talking about the Ark. My wife just kind of looked at me like, okay. But yeah, I was right. Cool. All right, that's all. I was happy. I'm looking at Easter eggs. I was happy to know that other people put the same thing I thought.
Very good. If it's there, the internet found it. So there are no more surprises or secrets, my friends. There's just
Not really.
The overwhelming Google will save everything and solve everything.
I'm okay with that though. And then you have the theater. The theater was kind of cool. Like you have him there watching, because I mean this is also a historical thing. Like during the war, they would have, because you didn't have TV in 1940, so they would play advertisements or things before a movie. Like they're all going there to see a cartoon, and some guy's getting all upset because he has to watch a World War II propaganda type film beforehand.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's again, this is all character building. This is all cementing Steve Rogers as a do-gooder who is good with a heart of gold. Good. He is super duper good. He is more gooder than good. He's great. And this is just cementing him as a earnest character who is willing to stand up to anybody despite his small stature. And it's just set up and set up and set up, and that never changes, which is my biggest problem with this character. But I will get into that. I'm trying to find the spot to talk about that because I still like it. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just we'll get there. But yes, this is all the setup. You know, he goes into the alleyway and he tells the guy, "Hey, be quiet." And the guy stands up and beats the snot out of him. We have our first callback line, of which there are dozens in this movie. There are so many callback lines. I could do this all day.
Yep.
So many callbacks, which are fine.
When I see that in the other movies later on, like when he fight, I want to say it's in spoiler alert, in Endgame when he does that with Thanos, I was like, oh, but yeah.
See, I'm so removed. I didn't catch that. I'll probably catch it this time around, but
I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he says it to Thanos in Endgame, but maybe I'm putting my own memories.
He definitely says it to one of the big villains in one of the other Avengers movies. I don't
think it's Ultron, because Ultron not really his villain.
Yeah, that's
fair. When he starts, but we'll get to that. Oh, and I should say, because I hadn't mentioned it yet, there will be spoilers for this movie, of course, because that's what we do. I should put it out there. We're
going scene by scene.
Yeah, which should, but yeah, okay. And like, I love every time he says, "I could do this all day." Like, I love that. I love that phrase so much.
Mm-hmm.
Captain America.
This is our first look at America's ass when he gets knocked out.
And this is also when you introduce Bucky Barnes, which I think the actor Sebastian Shaw, I want to say, that plays Bucky Barnes, ends up becoming, well, I won't go there, but plays Bucky Barnes in this movie. Yeah. And I like Bucky Barnes. Like, I knew who he was, right? In the I mean, yes, they went away from who he is in the comics. In the comics, Bucky Barnes is a little kid who is enlisted with Rogers, even though he's like 12, 13 years old, and he really shouldn't be fighting in World War II, but comic book. So I'm okay they went away from that, and they made Bucky Barnes like his sidekick, but at the same time, at least in this part, he's not really a sidekick. He's his friend, and he's bigger than him. I'm okay
less of a Robin to Batman kind of thing.
I'm okay with that, because I really don't care for Robin a huge amount, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it's from a movie making standpoint, he's kind of your antithesis to Rogers, right? He's bold and brash and confident and big, and he's kind of like your prototypical American soldier. You're not super soldier or anything, but the kind of guy you would expect to be going off into war. And Steve Rogers, of course, is meek and mild with a heart of gold, who wants to do the right thing but is not physically able, nor will the army actually let him because he's not physically able.
It's the way that you would have presented a soldier from World War II in the 40s.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's the way that you would still present it. Like you would, because I mean, they still look at them, which they should, as men of great valor, men that were, manly men, that idea, because, well, they fought a war. So.
Right. Yeah, it's an ideal, and it works. He works as kind of this counterpoint to Steve. We get to learn a lot more about Steve, how he you'll see the next scene, how he behaves around women, and just more about him as a person. So you need that person to bounce off of, which is good. Yeah, no,
I like when you start out with the Stark Expo, and you have, where he's like, "Oh, I got you. We got a double date," and like Steve really doesn't know how to interact with the woman at all, which makes sense. Like also more building character, place, foreshadowing. But I like all that. Like, I like how they do that, where Bucky Barnes is confident because he's good looking. He's a soldier. He's someone to be respected. And you have little Steve Rogers, and the girl's like, I don't really care. He's not interested. Like, I loved all that. when they're walking, when you have the whole Stark Expo scene, like all that to me was just, I enjoyed it. And there's also a Easter egg in here, which I caught, which I pointed out to my wife, and she just kind of looked at me like, okay. When they're going into the World Fair, you see the Human Torch, the original one from the 1939 comics, inside a glass tube. Which, for those that don't know, originally Human Torch was not Johnny. God, what the hell is it? Johnny Blake? No, not Johnny.
Storm.
What the hell is his name? Johnny Storm.
Johnny
Yes.
Storm.
I should have known that. It was not Johnny Storm. It was an android, and that was the original Human Torch, who also fought in the old Captain America comics. I want to say, or at least in the comics that took place in the 40s, Human Torch was one of the people who fought against the Nazis. So that's why they kind of make that reference to it.
Huh. Interesting.
It was Namor, Human Torch, and Captain America that fought the Nazis.
Yeah, I thought it was really fun checking out the Stark Expo, because we heard about it, right, in Iron Man 2, the Great Stark Expo, and there's a really fun scene where Stark is actually showing off his new flying car, and it breaks on him, which is such a lovely little moment, because that really does showcase how much better probably Tony is than his dad is now. But it really does showcase a nice character. Tony, you see Stark kind of leering at one of the chorus girls in the line, and in the thing, in the show, in the presentation. How many times am I going to say this? How many words am I going to use for a presentation, show,
we'll find
conference?
We're
going to find out. Anyway, I thought it was a really neat little neat moment. Kind of fun little, again, kind of showcasing Daddy Stark.
Howard.
Howard, thank you.
I couldn't think of it either, so don't feel bad.
Nah, that's all right. Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was fun to see Howard Stark doing his thing like Tony did in the previous film in Iron Man 2.
But don't forget, he did say, I did say it would be a few years later.
Yeah, that's funny.
After it breaks down. It's still a few years away.
I like the floating car. It's like an ancient precursor to the repulsor tech that Tony eventually creates.
Ooh, yeah.
It's also a reference to what comes on to the flying hot rod in Lola and Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. that they do in season 1.
Oh, yeah. Your favorite show.
It's still going, by the way, I found out. Like, it's in the final season now. I'm like, this didn't get canceled years ago? I was like, what the hell?
Wow.
It's finally ending this year.
I didn't know it's still going.
I didn't know either.
Yeah, never seen it, so.
That's okay. It doesn't. The first season sort of connects with the MCU, and a couple episodes here do in there, but they got off that train by like season 3, and they went their own direction, and nothing matters.
That's fun.
Indeed.
So that's the way.
Yeah, there's actually another neat moment here where where Rogers and Bucky and the girls are kind of talking, and he walks up to that poster, that kind of propaganda join the army poster, and there's a blank cutout where your face is supposed to be. So the idea is supposed to walk up and see your face in that little poster, and he's too short. Like he can't see his face, and that's really touching. My wife caught that before I did, and she's like, "Oh, that's actually really sad." He walks up to this poster, and it's just a blank face, and his face, of course, is on the torso. He's too short to pretend to be a fighting man in the army. That's sad.
Into the Spider-Verse does something really similar. Hopefully, we'll talk about someday.
Yeah, hopefully.
I've never seen it.
Just a neat moment.
I need to change that. But I like when they have him enlist again, which again shows you more of this character. Like, he just doesn't give up. They're supposed to go dancing with their double date that he doesn't care about. Instead, he's like, nope, I'm going to go enlist again. Even though, and I love how they have all these signs around, like when he's sitting in the waiting room, and they have like, if, falsifying your documents is a crime and all this. Is like, uh-oh. And the military police walks in. He's like, uh-oh, I got to go.
Yeah.
I love that.
That was very good.
Doesn't mean it could have went so many different ways. Like, and I like how they show that, like, even though he's still a little unsure about what's happening.
And if I can just back up really quick, because I think the expo is a good opportunity to talk about how this movie looks and the look of this movie and how great this looks. I think this is a gorgeously made movie as far as visuals. I love the fact that everything is retro, which is it's 60s era, but with a slight bit of modern technology, especially when we get into Hydra and their weaponry and all that, and the tanks and them retrofitting things. But this just has a beautiful kind of rounded, almost nostalgic, kind of hazy look to things. I'm not sure if you guys know, but the director is Joe Johnston, who is most famous for directing The Rocketeer.
Oh, nice.
Tons of there's tons of Rocketeer DNA in the way this movie looks.
Oh yeah.
So it's a very, very neat looking movie. I think it looks gorgeous. What do you guys think?
I like the way it looks too.
Yeah, my wife kind of likened it to the later Fallout games, how they're set in the 50s and 60s, but they have ultra modern takes on things. And it seems like most of the movie has like a sepia tone tint to everything to give it more of a vintage feel.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, definitely. Yeah, the color palette's definitely kind of muted with going towards those browns, like an old photograph. Yeah. No, it's really beautiful. I think it's gorgeous, and it's distinctive. It's distinctive in the MCU. I think, again, I don't remember a lot of the other movies, and we'll get there, but I don't remember any other movies being this kind of. Obviously, the setting helps, right? But just having this sort of feel to it is really great.
It seems like they kind of call back to it in Ultron when Scarlet Witch is messing with everyone's head and Steve has the flashback to this kind of time. And it has that same sepia tone to it. And it's like you know exactly where you are and when you are.
Yep. Uh-huh. Cool. But anyway, I just wanted to point that out because I think the visuals, of course, are a big part of what makes this work.
Yeah.
That's one of the few movies I'm not excited to rewatch for this show.
I am. It's going to be a fun episode.
We'll see.
Yes, it will be. But and this is like I love all the scenes with the doctor coming in where he kind of where he approves them. He's like, "I'll give you a chance," and he stamps the thing, and it doesn't say F anymore. It says I think IA or something.
Yeah, 1A.
1A. Yeah.
Okay. I thought that was
up. Like, 4F says registrant not acceptable for military service. To be eligible, registrant. Wow, registrant.
Get registrant.
Must have been found not qualified for services in the armed forces by military entrance processing station. So he's just not fit altogether. And then 1A just says they're available for unrestricted military service. Thanks, Wikipedia.
Yeah, thank you. See, the all-knowing Google helps us out again.
That's what I tell people. They don't appreciate that sometimes. But and I also like when I want to say this is the first scene where you're at the mountain base, and I think this is the part where you don't see any of Red Skull's face yet.
No.
Yeah.
Later. No, this is where this is when I think when you first see Dr. Armin Zola too, or am I skipping ahead?
No, I think you're right, because the first shot of him is like blown up in a magnifying glass.
Which is an Easter egg.
Yeah.
Because for those that don't know, Armin Zola originally wasn't a scientist. He was a scientist like face inside a robotic body that he fought in the 1940s.
Not sure how I feel about that. I don't know.
But that was his original, maybe 1940. But whenever he first appeared in 1977. I just have it open. But when he fought him, he was inside something. He wasn't a scientist, or he had already died in World War II and was they reference it later on in Winter Soldier, but
Winter Soldier.
It's that same, but that's what they're going for. That's why the first time you see him is through there to kind of make you think they were going to go that route. Then it's a little short scientist guy. And I like how they purposely prolong you seeing Red Skull. Like you see the guy he's painting, you see this big clutter like red oil paints, and he looks like blood. I thought they were going somewhere else, and I realized, and then he turns off the lights when he's like, "What do you need, Mr. Zola?" And I mean, I knew exactly where they're going because he's Red Skull, and I don't think either Armin Zola didn't know yet that he had no face or what. I'm not sure, because most of the time you see Red Skull, he's wearing he has no makeup on. I shouldn't say he's wearing, but technically he's wearing a fake mask to look like Mr. Smith. But,
yeah, Mr. Smith face. I think you're just skipping ahead. That's not this scene. This is the scene where they pop the Tesseract into his energy catcher.
Oh,
you're right. I did skip.
Yeah, and that's. I think that's the next scene where they're hanging out in his lair.
Okay,
It's okay. Here. We'll just cut that piece out, put it in 20 minutes ahead. And
it's not that far ahead. Yeah, I just see Red Skull painting in my notes now.
Yeah, no, that's fine. This is the scene where Hugo Weaving is they're trying to harness the power of the Tesseract, and somehow, some way he does it, and of course him being evil mustache twirling villain that he is, says no 100% and pulls it to 100, and luckily it works.
I like all that. I love the idea how they're building all these weapons that you see throughout this movie, the tanks, the guns, everything, by using the Tesseract. Like, to me, that is a really cool idea. And
it is.
And it divorces itself from history in a way, because the Tesseract isn't real, and they were able to have these weapons, but since the group that you're following throughout the movie, they're fighting Hydra, not exactly fighting the Nazis, so you're following a different thing, which you can still go along with history in a way that World War II still happens, and this was going on over here, but they're over here. Like, I love how they made it work like that.
Exactly. No, I think it's really smart, and I like the idea of again, harnessing things and harnessing power to power the weaponry and all the tech that we haven't seen yet, but we will.
It's like how every time you see a Hydra gun for the rest of the movie, it's got that distinct blue tint to it, where there's some kind of Tesseract shoved into it. to power it.
The Tesseract battery.
Yeah, pretty much.
I like where they went with the Hydra uniforms. Like, for those that follow the comics, Hydra is normally a green jumpsuit with yellow lines. Like, I'm happy they didn't go that route and they're just wearing all black, because it makes much more sense for somebody who had been part of the Nazi party and for someone in 1940s war. So I was okay with that change.
Yeah, that would be silly.
Yes. I think they do reference it later on in something in S.H.I.E.L.D. There's green in a lot of places, but here, I mean, at least not in the uniforms, I don't think. I don't think they ever go that. They don't go Marvel's 1960s.
I don't think so.
And then you get Tommy Lee Jones in next.
I was so surprised.
You forgot he was in this?
Forgot he was there.
Same.
Yay.
When he first shows up, I'm like, oh, yeah, he's in this.
It was great.
So you end up going to boot camp, and Tommy Lee Jones, for those that don't know, plays a commander in the U.S. Army, and he plays it perfect. Tommy Lee Jones, just normal. I don't give a shit about nothing. Get to work. Yeah, like just Tommy Lee Jones.
Yep, he's great. We'll see more scenes of him when he's really shining. He's just because he's quick. He's very quick with quick in like breaking people down, and saying, I don't say mean things, but just really great at breaking people down and kind of exerting his authority. He's an authoritative guy. But yeah, and we see Agent Carter for the first time.
Yes.
Now,
Haley Atwell.
Yes.
Sorry,
go ahead. Sorry.
You're good. I just want to say I really like her. That's all.
No, she's great. I think she's great in this movie. I really like her character. I think the actress who plays her is great. I saw Agent Carter. Again, it's been 10 years since I've seen this. I'm like, is that the same Agent Carter from the TV show?
Yes.
And then I'm like, I need to see the show now. It's only 2 seasons. I'm so into this because I really like this character. I like this time period, this setting, and just reading the brief synopsis on going adventures and taking down.
Don't watch it yet because I want to do an episode about each season.
Okay.
So if you're up for it, we'll gladly do it here because it's both of them kind of connect and are very good.
Okay. This is the first time I remember. Again, I know the Agent Carter show now, but back then it never registered. It wasn't a show. But now I saw it. I'm like, oh wait, yeah, Agent Carter. That's a show. I think they guys like that, and I look it up. Yes, I'm super into this now. So,
and thankfully it's on Disney Plus because it was very hard to find for a while because it never went on Netflix. I had to watch it in other ways when I watched it because they took it off the air, and I'm like, I can't find this, and I really want to see this, so I will find other ways to watch it. But now it's on Disney Plus, so you can watch it the correct way.
Well, I'll wait for your guidance whenever to see that.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing. Because Mike had already sold me on it, and then I watched this movie. I'm like, yeah, I definitely want to watch that now.
Yeah.
Oh, and like the way they introduce you to Agent Carter too is you have some soldier being an asshole because it's 1940s and women are shit, and to men at this time, and that mentality still sticks around to some men. But they have that, and they do a good job. The guy's like, oh, what are you going to tell me, woman? Pretty much like not what he says. I don't have it pulled in front of me, but it's that same idea. And I love how she's like, take a step forward. He steps forward. He's like, I can show you some moves. And I thought she was going to slap him or something. She just punches him right in the face, and it was just great. She's like, yeah, fuck you, boop, right in the face.
No, it was very good. And again, establishes her character. She's strong and she's capable and can handle herself. And really good. And the actress who plays her is great. So
yeah, I don't think I've seen her in anything else but the Captain America stuff. But I really like her. I know she's done other stuff. I just haven't seen it.
Yeah, like they set her up as a badass right away. It's like not what you'd expect from a comic book female. Usually they're damsels in distress, and she's not taking anyone's shit.
No,
yeah, but now we're.
Oh, you're good.
But yeah, then we move into the montage of failure, as I wrote down.
Yeah, I like this a lot. Like,
it's great. This is also very good. I like this a lot. It's showing how Steve Rogers really doesn't belong there. Like, he has no business being in boot camp with anybody.
No, not at all.
Until he gets to the point where he's gets to the flag, and the commander, Joe Sargent, famously says, "First person to get up that flag gets to drive home with Agent Carter." And then of course he's like, "It's great," and all the dopes are clambering over themselves, trying to climb up a thin pole that's probably slippery. And again, it's just a great moment where Steve Rogers kind of waits for him to leave and walks up, pulls a pin out. I guess nobody in the 17 years they've been doing this trick has figured this out.
Yeah, well, I mean, it makes sense because your normal "I'm tough, I'm rough" type of guy would be like, well, I'm going to climb this pole. They're not going to think, well, why don't we just break the pole down and get the flag? They're going to think you have to do it the hard way. You have to do it the manly way. So I like that idea because Steve Rogers is not your manly soldier. He's this guy that doesn't really belong in the army because he's a weakling, but he has a big heart. And I like that idea. He's like, well, pull off the thing and he just grabs him. Like, I love that scene. They all just look at him and he just jumps in the car with Peggy Carter. He's like, okay, let's go. It's great.
It's great. I mean, it's a very fun scene. It's nice to see, again, establishing Steve has some brains to him. He's had to rely on brains his entire life, probably because he doesn't have the brawn. And it's also neat to see these go get him army types. Kind of a little shame there. Yeah, you should have thought of that, guys, instead of trying to clamor each other.
I love
it. Was good. It's a good scene.
I was surprised how much I was in. Like, even at this point, I was like all into this movie. I was smiling, huge smile, and I'm like, yeah, I was happy. It was nice. I haven't had that in every movie we watched so far in this show.
Yeah, nice. Definitely.
And I want to say you have a little bit more boot camp. I don't remember the montage, but you have him doing jumping jacks where Tommy Lee Jones is like, this guy can't even do jumping jacks. He's talking to the doctor, and then he pulls the grenade and just throws the grenade. And I like that how they all run, but Steve Rogers jumps on the grenade. He's like, get away, get away. And he sacrificed himself essentially. And they're like, it's a dummy grenade. You hear someone in the background yell. Yeah. And he's like, oh. And then the doctor just looks at Tommy Lee Jones. He's like, and he just walks away. He's like,
no.
Steve's like, was this a test?
Obviously. No. But so anyway, yeah, because they're talking about, basically Tommy Lee Jones is talking to Stanley Tucci, basically saying, so why is he here? Like, I get it. You have a pet here, but why? So that's why they throw out the fake grenade. He jumps on it. And then Tommy Lee Jones turns to him and says, still tiny, and walks away.
I love that.
It's so good. He could care less. He's trying to make a point. He's selfless. That's what leaders are. Leaders are selfless. That's what the point is.
Are you sure?
And Tommy Lee Jones just could give no shits at all about it, which leads us into the scene where Rogers and Stanley Tucci, they have a little drink.
I like this
a little time together.
And he's about to drink. He's like, you can't drink. You have procedure tomorrow. He's like, okay, we'll hold that drink. He's like, I can drink. I don't have a procedure tomorrow. And I just hold that. He just starts drinking.
Very funny scene. Yeah, it was very funny. And this is where we get our exposition dump of what the Tesseract is and Hydra and Schmidt and kind of a lot of the backstory that you probably don't know if you're not familiar with the comics, which of course I'm not. So this is kind of where you get a lot of that, a little bit of that knowledge dump.
Tesseract wasn't in the comics at all at this point in the form of the Tesseract.
Okay.
Because the Tesseract is an infinity gem in the comics, which was never in a cube. So maybe some people had an idea what it was because it has maybe some of the same powers. I can't say, but I don't think it. I want to say people were probably very unsure what it was, even if you had read the comics.
But yeah, it's just some good exposition on what we're going to be seeing for the next hour and a half, and it's good. It's a nice little time, and again, two good actors doing good work. It's very fun.
I was very distracted by the doctor's crooked glasses. They were like, to the point where it was very distracting. Like, why are his glasses crooked? My wife's like, my glasses are always crooked. I'm like, yeah, but his are crooked. Look at that.
I can't have mine crooked. I got to fix them if they're crooked.
It was such a stupid thing to focus on. Then it was like, oh, the scene's over. What? I got the drinking bit. That was about it.
And for those that don't know, all three of the people you're listening to right now, all three of us wear glasses. So that's kind of
right. That's right. That's right.
So we're experts on this.
This is a major motion picture. Your glasses should fit. I mean, what are you doing?
So
come on, Marvel.
I mean, all they had to do was go to some little dinky, store and get glasses and have the person fit them. Like, not that hard.
I'm saying there's a sunglass hut right down the street. The lot's not
sure
far. Get on over there.
And I also, so after they have the talk, I love the part where he's in the car with Peggy and they're driving to go to the lab. And that's when I think he does a little exposition about, she's like, why didn't you just run? He's like, if you start running, they never let you stop running. And again, building character, but I just love all this. Like and you can kind of see her like, okay, this guy ain't so bad. Like, he's not a hunk or anything yet because he's a little midget, but you can kind of see that she's like, okay. And I like how they kind of start building that like attention to how she is starting to kind of think highly of him because he's more than what she originally thought when she first saw him. And I like all that. And like we kind of had, I want to say we said this during the recording too, when you first get to the antique store and you have the old lady when they do the umbrella password part. I love that. When she goes to reach the bell, and you see a machine gun right there by where the bell is. So if you said the wrong thing, you ain't getting the bell.
Did anyone else notice though how Chris Evans' height changed 3 times in that scene?
I was going to bring that up.
Okay, I'll let you bring it. Go for it. In the car ride, please go for it, because
the car ride was when the CG looked the most out of place. Like, it seemed like every camera change was like a different perspective. So he looked way smaller or way bigger depending on which camera was on him at the time.
Oh, yeah. They're doing like oldie time. I'll say oldie time. People still do it. Forced perspective. So, that way the relationship of the characters to the camera will make them look different sizes. And it's an old school technique and it works great. But man, he gets out of that car and he's basically the same height again. You're like, what's going on here, movie? But yeah, no, that reverse shot was so bad.
Yeah,
again, I don't want to say nitpicky, but it wasn't good.
The shot of Peggy up front when she's closer to the camera and he's further away, he looks like an actual child, like a 10-year-old.
He does. I'm like, he looks like a 10-year-old. That's exactly what I said. I'm like, wow, boy, oh boy. There's a few effects in this movie that have not aged well, but hey, it doesn't detract from the fun.
Right, definitely.
Yeah, I didn't catch any of that, but I'm not too nitpicky on most things. But then again, I am also the guy that complains about like how Thor looked in the last movie, so I shouldn't say that.
Thor's face.
So that still bothers me to this day.
Hey, listen,
it bothers me.
It's all good.
But I love how like when you have him when he first comes into the building and you see the lab and they see Steve Rogers. I think it kind of that's when in my opinion it hits them what's coming. Like it and he's just standing there. They all you have like a couple seconds of them just staring at him and he's just standing there and it's just like and he's just looking down at what he's gonna go into and he's just like and I like that. Like I thought that was kind of a powerful part too. Like they're just kind of looking at him like this is the guy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what that was. It's like, wait, this is the guy you brought to do this with? They're expecting some, hulking dude who's going to be more hulky, right?
Like if we didn't really I see what you did there.
I didn't even think of it. That wasn't on purpose. Oh,
it was good though.
It was good. I'll take it. Listen.
I thought you did on purpose, but I like how earlier you have Tommy Lee Jones' character saying, "Hey, we should take this guy. He's a man. He's a soldier." And the guy's like, the doctor, he's a bully. We don't want a bully. Yeah. Like, and I like that, like where he really knew what he was looking for.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
He was a bully too, because during the military montage, he's sabotaging Steve at every turn. It kind of reminded me of the "Make a Man Out of You" from Mulan music number where everyone's sabotaging him the whole time, or sabotaging Mulan.
Well, it is a hint to them. Oh God, that was funny.
Very good.
My brain didn't go there, but I will take it.
Yeah.
And I love all this. And then you have the scene where he's loaded into the transformer machine, and I like that when they give him a shot of penicillin. Like, that wasn't so bad. That was penicillin.
It was penicillin. Yeah.
And that was good. And you had the whole
machine's labeled as the superhero Easy Bake Oven in my notes.
I like that too. It's called Easy Bake Oven. I'm like, stop it. Stop ruining my movie.
Awesome.
And I also want to point out how great all this tech looks. And again, I'm going to note this a few times throughout this, how good things look. All this old school 60s era tech combined with these modern ideas. Again, you're not going to have this macho man making machine in the 60s, but it all works. It's extremely integrated into the world that Johnston creates here. So when they're flipping switches and turning dials, I'm not really paying attention to what they're doing. I'm now looking at their switches and looking at the dials. Like, oh my God, that dial, that's like so 1960s. That's a 60s era temperature gauge. That's awesome.
40.
Yeah, it's futuristic without looking out of.
I don't know where my brain was. Sorry.
Looking out of place.
Sorry, 40s. But yeah, sorry, 40s.
But 60s should work too, because like what Mike had just said, it is supposed to be futuristic. So that, so 40s, 60s would be futuristic.
Yeah. It's just got a really cool look to it. And I just like how all of this, old school technology and this modern tech kind of fuse together and actually makes sense in the world. Like none of this looks out of place in this world that we've been in for for the first 30 minutes of the movie or so. So works good. Yeah, 40s. Keep saying 60s, 40s.
Just remember World War II, not Vietnam.
Yeah, no, exactly right. Yeah.
War. But, and then when they're injecting him with the serum, like, oh, that look, I would not enjoy that look. They had things going to his arms, a bunch of little needles, then they had things in directly into both of his chest. Like, that just look, I'm like, because I don't like needles, I'm like, nope. This does not look fun.
Now, I have a question. Is that Hulk juice? Like, is that the serum stuff that no, of course it isn't. It's the 40s. Like, time.
No, but
not far off, because the Hulk's research was to duplicate the super soldier serum, so it's kind of backwards.
Okay, so I'm all right, man.
You're not that, yeah. Okay. But hey, it's because Hulk came out first, in the MCU, because Hulk wasn't really in the MCU.
Yeah.
None of that looks nearly as bad, speaking of Hulk, as the needle in Abomination's spine. I can't remember the
Nope.
That was terrible.
No, that was hard. Ugh. But anyway,
I'm never watching that movie again, probably either.
Cool. Okay, so that's the super serum Banner's trying to replicate. Okay, gotcha.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah,
Good.
that because they're following what happened all these years ago with Cap stuff. Because as we're gonna, I'll get in shortly. But and I like that part when he's in there and they shine him with all these UV lights because they're trying to kill, or Vita rays they call it. So they're trying to kill all the germs on him. And somebody gets that reference. And
I got
shaking
it.
their head at me. And if they do that, they. And they do that. I like that part where he starts screaming. They're like, turn it off. He's like, no, I can do this. And again, more character building. Then he stops screaming. And I love that. Like, then they finally, after everything almost like blows up, they open it up, and now it's Chris Evans as Chris Evans. And as my wife who watches it with me, she's like, what the hell is wrong with his pants? She's like, his pants should be high waters now. She's like, I'm not okay with this.
My wife said a very similar. Fine. My wife said a very similar thing. She also goes, how do you get oily inside of that thing? I was like, I don't know. Hey, listen.
He was sweating?
It's called the finishing touch, I guess. I don't know.
What?
Stark hit the sexy button, I guess, at the very, very end. And it
is a sexy button because when he comes out, he's standing there and Peggy Atwell walks over and she almost touches his chest. So.
Yep. Hey, listen.
So we should note that there's a spy in this room, and it's not a spy for Hydra. This is a spy for DC, because Clark Kent is one of the onlookers in this room. Guy with black glasses, black slicked over hair.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
DC's got trying to figure out Marvel's success here.
Yes, like, a one note character who's good at everything. He really seems like he's a very Superman. No, just kidding. I know nothing about Superman. I can't make fun of something I don't know anything about.
Hey, you could watch 8 seasons of Smallville just like me. 7 seasons. I'm on 8 seasons.
There's 10 seasons of Smallville.
Yes.
Oh my God, is there really?
3 more to suffer through. I'm not even doing it for an episode. I'm just doing it because.
All right. Hey, listen. We all need things to do.
Yeah, plenty of things to do. But I love all that. Like, and speaking of spies, as they're congratulating him, you have a character who was with one of the senators earlier who ends up he leaves like a cigarette case, I think is what it's supposed to be. Yeah. And as soon as that happens, I knew, because I already, I've seen this movie. I'm like, oh, there goes trouble. And what I didn't know is he's actually from the comics. He's from the first issue of Captain America. He's a spy that Captain America fights. So it's kind of a reference to that too.
Okay, makes sense.
But he shoots the doctor, steals the only vial left of the serum. Why there's only one vial left, I
know.
Don't know.
I know.
I'll take it. I'm
Good
okay
point.
with it. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And it was cool. Like, I bought all of it. I was cool with it. And I love how this is the part where you have him chasing after him. And because all the soldiers this guy just takes out all the freaking soldiers inside this place and makes his way outside. And you have Captain America, doesn't grab a car, doesn't steal a car. He just starts running because that's what you do. And I like this. Like, I like he's just running on his own, just running. Like, it is to me, it's a cool scene. And when the car goes one way, he takes a left because he's from the city. He's from New York. He's from Brooklyn, as they say in this movie multiple times. and I mean, it made sense to me. Like, okay, he knows the city. Here's this guy who's a German spy who might not know the city as well. So it makes sense. And that whole scene where he's running on car, jumps on a car, grabs the car the guy's in and holds on to it. Like, I bought all that. I was 100% on board in this part.
Yeah, some of the CG in it's a little wonky, but it's a very great scene. It's a really fun. It's a good example. Again, it's kind of showing us what Captain America can do physically without his shield, because all of us we're all waiting for the shield. Like, when's he getting the shield? Because the shield's the fun stuff, right? But this is really showcasing the stuff he's physically capable to do. It seems almost a little unrealistic that he can just now do it, but if it's part of his nature, if if that sort of action be part of his nature, and now he can actually physically do it, I buy it fine because of what he's doing. He's not doing anything crazy. You know, he's running, he's jumping, he's leaping over things. He's using his new gifts, his new tool set, you know, to do some cool stuff. And we're learning the stuff he can do. It's very good. I want to just back up very, very quickly to when Stanley Tucci buys it. I love his death scene because he doesn't give you a goodbye speech. He just looks at him and he dies. Good. Great. I thought that was great. I was waiting for the always be a kind man, Steve. Or, you know, something along the lines of remember the American way is the best way or something silly like that.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Well, he does something, but it's a callback to an earlier scene when they're sitting trying to drink, and the doctor tells him when this is all over to be a good man. He touches his chest, and then as he's dying, he reaches out and touches Steve's chest again to remind him of what he had said before.
Yes. Okay. That's true. Yeah, it's good. But yeah, you're right. But there wasn't a big long teary goodbye. That's right. I think that's a very sweet. That's sweet. That makes sense to me as opposed to like, again, you're trying to struggle for oxygen, the perforated lung, and you go, you know, give your big teary goodbye. No. Yeah. It's a good point. You reminded me of that. Yeah. That's nice. But back to the chase. Yeah. Go ahead.
It would have been a little too similar to Jensen's death in Iron Man. It was very similar otherwise. So to have the tearful goodbye would have been just straight parallel.
Yeah, very good point. Yeah, real good point.
They didn't
need it. It was good. They did it very well, very tastefully. Good. It was a good moment. And then the chase scene's great, and he finally captures. I thought this was interesting too. I didn't realize he had super lungs as well because he goes way down there to grab that submarine. the Hydra submarine that just happened to be sitting there at the dock that no one noticed.
It's the Bat Sub. It's the DC spy.
Well, it is the Bat Sub.
It's 1940s. I mean, subs aren't very common, so I can buy it. It's underwater. Nobody notices.
Well, it's interesting because I asked my wife, I'm like, was that just sitting there? And she's like, no, I think it was underwater and it came up for him. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because he hits a thing on his lighter that makes it come up.
Right. That's right. He did hit. Okay. Gotcha. I was probably scribbling notes, but yes.
And just before this, when he's shooting at Cap and Cap grabs the door to the cab that's next to him, holds it in front of him, is actually our second homage to the Shield. Because we didn't mention it before.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Beat up in the alley, and he grabs a trash can lid and holds it out in front of him.
Doesn't do anything.
And then this time, it's got the actual star in the center of it.
Yes.
So they're like, hey,
door.
The Shield's coming.
Yeah, exactly. Just wait for it, guys and gals.
I like all that. Like that. It's all good foreshadowing.
Yeah.
And then this is when you also have, and as he grabs the guy out of the sub, because he doesn't. I mean, that's when the guy ends up biting. God, that just sounds terrible. Like to do that, like to knock your tooth out and then to bite it, and all he says is Hydra or Hey Hydra or something.
Yeah, Heil Hydra. Yeah, Heil Hydra. The old cyanide pill bit.
How would you? I mean, what? How do you get your tooth out just like that? Like, could you just? Because I'm thinking to myself, what if you ate something real sticky and all of a sudden your tooth comes out? If it comes out that easy, like, well, I guess we're done today. Come.
Yeah, chew on the other side of your mouth for the rest of your life, I guess. I mean, or only put in the cyanide last tooth when you know you're about to hit some action.
I think that's the key.
I think that's the key is to avoid it.
But also, dying of cyanide is gotta be very painful.
Ugh.
Doesn't look good. Doesn't look fun.
A little foamy.
A little foamy.
Yeah, rabies. But and this is I was a big fan of this next scene coming up because I'm, like I've said many times in this episode, and I'm going to say many more times, I'm sure, is I'm a World War II buff, and this is when you have Red Skull, but he's still wearing his mask, talking with Nazi commanders, and they're kind of going through like, hey, you know, the Fuhrer's not happy with what you're doing, and they kind of make a comment where at one point, I think he's something about my army or my this, and I'm like, wait a second, this isn't yours, it's Hitler's. Like, they don't say Hitler, but I like how they do that, because it was awesome. And again, as I was saying before, you don't see the swastika. You only see the red band and the white at one point. I mean, they purposely did very good with the shot, not to let you see it, because I was looking for it. I was looking at their uniforms. I was looking at any type of any type of thing they would have used for the uniforms. I know this a little too well, but I was looking for all that. And I mean, they were all right. Like, I had no problems. I love how they go, and as they're talking, the guy goes up to the map, one of the soldiers, and he looks at the map, and he's like, it says Berlin on here.
Yeah.
And that was great. Red's like, oh, well, I guess I'll tell you. And then he just turns around with his gun. He just starts shooting them, and they just vaporize. And one guy is trying to dodge it. And one guy runs to the door. He's like, he tries to open the door, and they just shoot him right. I'm like, where are you going? Like, wouldn't it made more sense to try to attack the guy with the cannon, not run to a locked door and go, help me? Like, come on.
I like this. This is interesting because this is, like we were talking about before, this is the moment when the movie completely divorces itself from Nazism and Hitler. It says Nazism is no longer a thing. We shall not reference it ever again.
There is nothing, because they really make it that the Hydra was part of the Hitler's army, but at the same time they're their own thing now, and they're just doing what the Red Skull. I was just saying, Hydra goes rogue basically, and Red Skull says, "That's it, we're going rogue. Our goal isn't just the West or Europe. Our goal is the entire world." So is Hitler's.
Well, yeah, so was Hitler's eventually, but he basically felt like Hitler's army or Hitler's regime was holding him back. So he's like, you know what, y'all are done.
Put on my glasses here. Speaking of history, at this point, depending on we're in the early 40s, this would have been getting close to when Hitler would have stopped listening to his commanders, and he was starting to kind of go insane. Like this is kind of probably getting close to the time when he would have attacked Russia, which is what pretty much is one of the big reasons why he lost this war so bad. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it does make sense that you have a commander going, wait a second, this guy's batshit insane. We need to do our own thing, because Hitler was intelligent at first. He was listening. And then, like many crazy leaders, he stopped listening to people that he had working with him, or he hired people just because they donated money to him. And he had people around him that were all yes men and didn't have people that were going to say, no, this is not right. He killed people that said, you shouldn't do that, Hitler. Well, I'll shoot you instead. I'll get someone else to say yes, like that. And so that makes sense. Like from a historical standpoint, it makes sense to see how he was starting to kind of go his own way. There's a little history buff you didn't ask for.
No, that's interesting, because in this scene, one of the commanders, one of the Nazi commanders mentions how Hitler's becoming slightly unhinged. Like he mentions something about throwing some troops at this thing. Kind of everyone started to question. Yeah,
that all happened midway through the war, and that's really what led to him losing the war. Like one thing that I'm going to say real quick, one reason why he lost the war, also, he never made Berlin or Germany become an all-war economy. He let them make dolls. He let them live life like it was normal. And one of his mistakes was, you have to, if you're going to go to war like this, you have to make your economy a war economy. Everything is war stuff that you're making to do what he was trying to do, and he didn't want to do that. He would do it in other countries he invaded, but he wouldn't do it in the countries where people actually wanted to work for him. So it makes sense. Like from a historical standpoint, it makes perfect sense that somebody would start to betray him, because that's what happened in history too with the Valkyrie, where they tried to blow him up and didn't work. Like that started happening at this time in the war. I don't usually share my knowledge on this podcast.
Oh, good.
And I want to say this is where you also have, because you have Captain America now, and after the Doctor had been killed, because he's like, well, I can fight. He's like, I asked for an army. All I got was you. And like they don't care about him anymore. They're like, that we don't need you. We want more of you. You were just a test subject. You were just, not really realizing what they have in their hands, because this guy is not a soldier yet. This is just a guy who was a science experiment in the eyes of the government, in the eyes of military. And I like all that. And I like how the senator comes up, look, I got an idea for you. Like, this is a great comedy bit that they add, which also ties so much into later on in this movie, where you have him, the guy signs him up, puts him in the original Captain America costume, which I was very happy with. Mm-hmm. That straight up original costume, gives him the shield from the first comic, which is not the circular shield that we all know and love. It's the other looking shield that he has. And he goes on different stages, and he's doing the whole, buy bonds. And I like how at first he's reading from the back of the shield because he doesn't know. And as the scene progresses, he has it all down. He's doing the whole thing. He's like, well, every bond you buy puts a bullet in your best guy's gun. Like that was great. It all just screamed 1940s America to me too.
Yeah, man. This is one of my favorite parts of the movie. I love what I wrote down, the propaganda part. I actually think this goes beyond comedy. I think this really speaks a lot to how, like you were saying, how to win a war is to get everyone behind it.
It is.
And World War II was the first time, and probably the last time everybody in America was on board. Everybody was pitching in. Everyone was rations, and everybody was on board. We're fighting a firm enemy in the Nazis. We have a villain to attack, and never since then have we been united whilst a war is going on. And that will never happen again.
No.
But because we just live in different times. But I just love the idea of the army saying, all right, we got this guy. He's now a hero. He was in newspapers doing crazy jumps. He's a hero. We can't just throw him into battle because he's not trained. Like he's not really trained in this stuff. He did boot camp. Like we can't let him go with Agent Carter and Tommy Lee Jones into God knows where and fight crazy Nazis. Like we can't do that. So what do we do with this guy? Let's use him to further our agenda, to further our propaganda. I think it's very accurate to how an American army organization would do that, like what they, again, using somebody for that. It's also a little sad because they're taking somebody with all these abilities and turning him into, like they said, like a puppet on a string.
Yeah.
Basically turning him into a commercial. So I think it's very sad. It's very funny. It's got a lot of elements going on. It's got that great, like, John Philip Sousa music in the background. And
very 1940s.
It's
and
so
the girls.
Yeah. And it's like so red, white, and blue. Like my eyes were hurting. I'm like, golly, like, man.
That was the 1940s. Like that was the way that everything was during that small amount of time, because that's what you had to do. Because they knew that if they were going to win this war, you have to get everyone behind, because they came in late into the war. They weren't involved when they should have been, because after World War I, nobody wanted to fight again. And Roosevelt knew he could not start war because the Senate and the House would not let him unless something happened. Right. God, I know a little. I forget how much is in my head of this stuff.
No, it's cool. I think World War II is fascinating as well. So you're not alone in that.
I studied a lot of it too.
All right, my man. This is going to be a sidebar. You can cut this out. I am genuinely curious. Have you gone to the World War II Museum in New Orleans?
No, I've never been in Louisiana yet. But I will if I go down there. I probably
you could spend 3 days there. You could spend 3 days there if you wanted.
Because I'm trying to. This ain't getting cut out, but I am trying to travel more. Like I'm trying to go to different cities, different capitals. Like once a year, go to different cities and visit things that I should see. Like last year, I went to Chicago for a couple days, and I'm going back to Chicago again because I didn't do enough. But that's what one of my goals is. But yeah, I definitely will have to hit that because I'll be geeking out. I have been on World War II type planes at different museums, and I want to say, I think it was a World War II plane, South Carolina. They had one chopped up, and I was like 12 or 13 at the time, so my brain wasn't where it is now, where I would be like, wow, but it was still kind of cool. So I've been around it, but I have not.
Yeah, and there's that one aircraft. I think it's World War II era, but there's an aircraft carrier. I think it's called the Independence, and it's in San Diego. Or no, is it San Diego? It's Coronado, which is right. I think it's right outside San Diego. Yeah, anyway, it's really neat. It has all these old planes and stuff. You dig it.
If I do go to Texas later this year, which I think is going to happen, well, hopefully, when the world wakes up again. I am going to make sure I'm going to find a way to get to JFK and see that spot. I don't care if I miss out on. I'm taking Uber, paying my $30 and going there.
The Daily Plaza. Yeah, I mean it's an interesting thing. Yeah,
history.
Cool. But anyway, back at the podcast. back at the show.
Oh, we do got to say that was great. This is also the part during the whole onstage thing. You have Hitler, where they have like the guy dressed up as an ugly little small Hitler, which Hitler was not that short, by the way. Fun. And he's creeping behind. The kid's like, he's right there, and I like that. And then he punches him in the face, which is from the first Captain America issue in 1939. Or 1940. I had it pulled up, but I don't anymore. But it's from that era, and that's in the first ish cover, which is worth thousands upon thousands of dollars now because they destroyed all their 1940s comics to recycle them for the war effort.
See, everyone getting together to do a thing.
That's why there's so few Superman, Batman, and Captain America appearances, because everything from that era was destroyed. So there's not a lot made it through.
Interesting. Yeah. So anyway, I could dine on a lot. I could dine on this scene a lot, but yeah, just basically for me, it's they have a point. It's an icky point. I don't like the point, but it makes sense given the story and the situation that the army people are in. And just fun. All that nostalgia is pretty rad.
And you go to Italy.
Yes.
I forget. I don't remember if it says the year or not. But I remember it does say Italy, which I like too, because Italy was one of the areas they don't talk much about when you talk about World War II, where they did land a lot of troops in Italy, and they fought for every little hill they got to in Italy. I mean, they were there. I mean, Hitler knew Italy was going to lose. He's like, slow them down and kill every man you got, but stop them, which they did. It did not go well. So it goes to Italy, and I like this, where he's still Captain America. He's still in the costume, and he goes up, he does a thing for the soldier, like, bring back the girls. We want the girls. Like, they don't give a shit who he is. Like, it makes sense, because his audience normally is 12-year-olds, and people who aren't in the war. Here are people who are watching people die, who are losing their friends. And this is the same squad that you find out a little bit later just got decimated fighting Hydra, and they lost a lot of men.
It's like, I think she says 200 soldiers go in, less than 50 came back.
Yeah, and the 107th, which
that was earlier. Yeah, and we learned the 107th, which has Bucky in it.
I like Bucky, and I like how this is what gives him, and then he's like, And then you have Peggy. Like, he tries to get Tommy Lee Jones to send troops, and they're like, "There's no point in attacking this fortified fortress. I'm going to lose more than I'm going to gain. We're just going to leave it." And I think Peggy kind of puts the idea in his head to go, where he has the idea, and she kind of helps push him along. She gives him, because she's the one that takes him in the freaking plane.
Yeah, because he's drawing the picture of the monkey on the unicycle.
Oh,
She's like, is that really what you want to be? You wanted to come over here and fight. Is that really how you're going to go out? And then, he kind of runs with that idea.
Which is, I love this. This is also where you get Howard Stark in, and this again shows you another part where you have Captain America isn't really, or Steve Rogers, he doesn't really know women at all, and he's kind of very naive. Which, when I first saw the movie, I could relate to. And he's like, Stark has asked her about fonduing, and he didn't know what fondue was. He thought they were having sex, and you don't find this out later, like, but that's what he thought they were talking about. It was just funny. And he's like, and he just got how unaware he is. And Howard Stark makes sense. You have a billionaire playboy type character, and that, of course, you're especially for someone like Steve Rogers, you're gonna think, well, the woman is interested in that guy, not in me. And this is when he jumped out the plane. I thought he jumped out without a parachute, but he had a parachute. And I like that. And again, it had another classic World War II thing. You had tons and tons of flak trying to shoot down the plane, like real. Mm-hmm. I want to say there was something that we watched where they had one cannon shoot down a plane, and it's like, no, they would fill the air trying to shoot that plane down, at least in World War II. I think now we have better targeting. We can just shoot you down. But
there was also a short scene just before this where Peggy's getting ready to take him, and she's like, I think I can help you out with something. And it cuts to the chorus girls going to get ready for the show, and the one girl runs up and picks up her U helmet. The next girl picks up her S helmet, and the third one's like, "Where's my helmet?" And it cuts to Steve wearing the helmet with the A on it.
Yes,
just that last piece of the original costume.
Yeah, it's pretty
classic.
Very good.
And you can, I want to say the little wings, like he has the little wings in the fake costume, costume he's wearing when he's on stage. I want to say they paint the little wings on his helmet too later.
Okay.
Oh, they do, not the helmet he has now, but later on when he gets the more like over the heads, he has it on there.
The new costume.
Yes.
But and
the whole plane drop is awesome. Like, all that was just awesome to me.
Yeah, really fun, really good. It's just interesting though. We're now getting to the point where this is a point for me when he's at the camp and he just decides, you know what, I'm gonna go save my friend. I'm just gonna go save my friend. This really cements him as this leader type. And for me, this is one of the things, and again, we've established this over the course, but now we've seen him really lunge himself into an actual physical battle solo. He's just, and he doesn't ask for a group. He doesn't ask for a regiment. He just goes. He doesn't want to risk any more men. He's going to go himself. And if he gets killed, he gets killed. Right. And that's, for me, kind of what makes Captain America very interesting, in that he is this kind of selfless leader, which was why I would assume is because why he becomes head of the Avengers is because he's the only one who could. He's this morally straight, always going to do the right thing type of person, which makes him a little boring as a character, but makes him interesting as an ideal. Captain America, to me, is like Superman, is like an ideal. He is someone to look up to. Not necessarily, he doesn't have great arcs. He doesn't really have much strife or trouble. I mean, he does have one bit later on in the movie we'll talk about. But for the most part, he starts as a good guy. He's a good guy with muscles, and he finishes a good guy. Like, there's no growth because he's already an ideal. He's already an archetype for how a leader should be, for how a leader should be, which I always see Superman's the same way. And again, before DC people throw things at me, I don't know much about it. Again, I think I mentioned this a couple shows ago. I've had people try to explain Superman to me that I think has elements of that. Fine, I still don't get it. Doesn't mean he's a good character, but it's necessary, right? He's a necessary component to the Avengers because he has to lead them, because again, he's always going to be doing the right thing. So I don't know. You need that in
a leader. You need a leader who's going to outweigh the needs of the many over the needs of the one.
Yeah, you need sacrifice.
Same idea. When you have a leader who only cares about the needs of one, you usually aren't a very good leader.
Loki.
Right. Like, yeah.
That's what
I was thinking of real life.
Thor.
Real life.
Oh, yeah, well.
Well, in the real world, yes.
Yeah. It seems like Cap was created to be that ideal when he was created in, looks like 1941. And it seems like he was created to sell, like you guys were saying, to sell the war bonds and to get everyone rallied together.
Right.
100%.
to fight World War II. It seemed like he was created for that exact purpose, and it's kind of cool to see the movie paying homage to that.
I mean, that's what everything was in that time. Like,
Right.
it's just when you look back at World War II and you look at the way the world, the way the country was after what happened in Pearl Harbor, it's like you had to be like this all. And this movie does a very good job of capturing that too. Like this wasn't fake. Like this is how they had to be, because this is also how they were. They were pushed to be this way. Like people were pushed to really care, and you made everything had to be about the war effort or they wouldn't have won. So I like all that. And like as he's infiltrating, like I like the scene, like you get your first action scene where he's sneaking around the camp, and I really liked the scene. And when he goes to rescue the soldiers, and I think they want to say, who are you? And he's like, I'm Captain America. Something like that.
It's very good,
Can't find the quote here, unfortunately, I want to say, but it's great.
Yeah, that's a really great scene. He kind of goes in and saves the day. It's all great. Again, this is also another stage of us building the Captain America character as far as his skill set. He's sneaking around, right? He's not going through guns blazing. He's kind of like just being slick, and being slick, infiltrating the doing his best solid snake as he infiltrates
Here's the line. When he rescues them, they say, one guy's like, you know what you're doing? Of course I do. I've knocked out Adolf Hitler over 230 times.
Very good.
And they're like, what?
What?
I love that. And I mean, it also makes sense from a strategic standpoint is you want to let all the prisoners go, because then the prisoners are going to cause a riot, which will give you a way to do what you need to do and escape, because he's there to rescue them. But also it makes sense. Like, he didn't have an army. Now he has an army.
So then he lets everyone escape and he releases people. We get our very brief introduction to his new team of good bros. So I remember from
Commandos.
Thor. Yep. From Thor, he needs a team of good bros and one gal. Here he's got his team of good bros. And it's cool. He's got the guy with the bowler hat who just, I don't know why.
Timothy Dum
Dugan.
What? He has a name?
That's his name.
Yeah, it's his name.
Dum Dugan.
That is a name. All right. Yeah, it is.
It's the same actor that is, for people that watch Arrow, he's in Arrow too. He was Damien Dark.
Okay.
And
nice.
he was also in a very, very good movie, Star Trek First Contact.
Yeah, First Contact is good. Remember that. Anyway, but that's a nice little scene. Again, you get your introductions to his new team. And and then one of my favorite bits of this is as he's kind of working his way through the facility. And of course the released commandos are now, of course, rioting, and they're taking over weapons and blowing stuff up, which is super fun and super good. I think this is the first time we've actually seen the Hydra weapons in action.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, other than Red Skull killing those.
Yeah. Yes.
That doesn't really count, because that was more of a cannon. This is like guys having just guns that just vaporize people that are chasing after them.
Right.
And all the Hydra folk I think they all have like little backpacks on. Is that like the little battery they keep on their back? It's so good.
Because which makes sense. Like this is, so far ahead of technology that they weren't able to really, put it just in a weapon. They have it, that you have to have an energy pack attached, like you're a Ghostbuster. And
it's also a point where there's one point while the riding is going on and Steve is looking for Bucky, which he does find. Before he finds Bucky, he snags one of the little Hydra batteries, like the Tesseract batteries. He kind of just walks by his blue list and goes, ooh, that's interesting. That might be of note. What's in his pocket and leaves. I thought it was very fun. I just kind of, as he's running by, a glowing battery thing.
That either, do they?
No, I don't think so. No, they give it. Well, I think they gave it to Stark.
Yeah,
there's that scene, and Stark examines
They came back
it.
with a lot of guns.
Well, that's true. So I don't know if they do anything with it then. I don't think so.
It's just there. I mean, I was waiting for something to happen during the scene when he's fighting and use it to blow up something. Nope, you're right. Nothing happens. And then as he's in here running around, this is when you also have Red Skull starts blowing the place up. He's like, we lost, and he starts self-destructing everything. And then he finds Bucky Barnes in a different room, tied up to a chair. And you see like a light above him, which is again foreshadowing to the movie coming up, which makes sense because they're already starting the whole mind control thing that's going to happen. Spoiler alert! In the next Captain America movie. So that I caught that. Like they don't say anything about it. They just get him out of the chair, get him out. He's kind of all woozy, and I'm like, I know what's happening. But I love that they don't mention it once.
I didn't make that connection.
They don't do it.
Neither did I.
You didn't make it?
Nope. Neither did I.
Oh, that's what it's a reference to Winter Soldier.
Okay.
So
I figured they did all that like after they pulled him out.
Yeah, because they started the process here, but they didn't finish it. And then after things happen coming up in this movie, that is why in the next movie and so on, that's why it happens. It's because of this.
Nice.
So
I did like that exchange when Cap finds Bucky. Bucky, I thought you were dead. I thought you were smaller or shorter or something.
I thought you were smaller.
Yeah, there you go.
A good one.
And there's one line from the Doctor that we forgot, but I want to say that way early in the movie. He says, "Why someone weak? Because a weak man knows the value of strength, the value of power." And again, kind of just shows you more about why they picked Steve. But it's great.
Yep. No, it's pretty. Oh, and then
speaking of smaller, we missed the Stan Lee cameo a little bit ago.
No, that's later.
We did.
No, that is now. Right.
Yeah, it's when he leaves with Peggy, because they're just waiting for the show, and some guy comes out and be like, "Hey, Captain America's not here," and Stan Lee says, "I thought he'd be taller."
Yeah.
I didn't care for this cameo that much. Like I like Stan Lee cameos, rest in peace. But this one's not one of my favorite.
I just feel like we need to point them out.
We do.
Movie.
No, you have to.
They need to be.
They're
especially
vital.
now, and they're in every movie, so they need to be pointed.
So have we gotten to the point where he finally confronts Redface?
Yes. We're right there now.
For those of you punching your seatbelts, yes, I said Red Face on purpose. Relax, it's okay. Red Skull, and he takes off his, as you put it, Michael, his Agent Smith face and reveals the Red Skull.
It's like MI2.
Sorry?
It's like Mission Impossible 2. He just ripped off his face.
Yeah,
I thought about Mission Impossible when he pulled it off.
I didn't.
Sorry, keep going. I had to make that reference that movie.
No, it's good. I didn't make that connection. So Michael, what did I say on our message group, our group message? We were talking about this last night. I said something to the effect of his face.
I don't remember.
Well,
I'm going to look
I think
now.
you said it looks stupid.
Stupid. That's what I said.
Yes,
I said it looks stupid. He's got a
was.
stupid face. I think he's got a stupid face. I don't like the way this looks.
Okay.
No, it's okay. Explain. You can now, mind you. This is personal preference type stuff. So obviously, this doesn't. This is not like a knock against the film or anything. I think they describe. Well, actually, Stanley Tucci describes how Redface got his red face because he was doing something. I forget the actual thing, but there was some sort of accident he was messing around with. You can remind me, I guess, what something happened where he got burned, I guess, and he got this Red Skull, and he has the deformity. Oh, there it is. Ugh.
That's not the one from the movie. That's the one from the 1990s. Matt
I just pulled that up too.
Now that's
so
bad.
Scary. Don't do that. So just so you guys know, we do this on a Skype thing. Michael just pulled up a face of a scary red guy, and I jumped. Like, what? What's going on now?
That's the one from the 1990s movies.
I actually prefer that. Here it is. Here's a problem. It's too smooth. See, look at his stupid cheekbones, his dumb pointed up nose. Just looks dumb.
The 1990s one looks like Ivan Ooze from the Power Rangers movie.
I'm so into that. I'm so here for that. Just modernize. Just give me a little bit of, again, maybe it's just me and my love of body horror, but
yeah,
I don't know. I don't expect somebody who's been destroyed by irradiated space stuff to have this perfectly smooth.
Oh, what it was is he injects himself with a super soldier serum before it was ready, and that's why he loses his skin and becomes the Red Skull. Because he's an evil person, and it just amplifies whatever's in you.
Yeah,
it's not a skull.
Stanley Tucci says the serum wasn't ready, and neither was the man.
That's it. Stanley Tucci's got a lot of good
God, if we're looking at the two, I mean, it's way better than what was in the 1990s.
Yeah.
Like, 1990s is god
give me a little goop. Give me a little goop. I don't know. I know it's PG-13.
For those that are curious, just Google Red Skull 1990s Captain.
Yeah, I know.
Film. You'll find
it. It's
better
than that. It's better than that.
There's two of them, by the way. They made a sequel to that movie too.
What?
Yep, there's two Captain America movies in the 90s with Matt Salinger.
Oh, that's not right.
I think it's the 90s. Maybe it's the 80s. I don't know. It came out when I searched 90s. Maybe I'm wrong.
No,
the original came out in 1990.
Oh God. Wow.
Terrible. Yeah, I just personally don't particularly like the design, and I don't particularly like the character either. And that's something that's a little more. That was one of the big deals or big problems I had with it back in 2011. One of the big problems I have is he has no strong motivations other than his own self-interest, and that's for me a big problem when it comes to villains, because you have to have a positive motivation. Even if you're evil, doing wrong, your motivation, you have to think you're doing the right thing. And for him, it always comes off as, I just want more power. I want to rule the world. But they never give you a reason why. Like, why do you want that? Other than the fact that you'll be more powerful, you'll have more things. It doesn't ring as a good villain. It just rings as, a mustache twirler who's just evil for the sake of being evil.
Oh.
And that's my biggest problem with him. And if there is a reason that I missed, please tell me. And if there's a reason in the comics, I don't know.
That's correct myself. 1979 was Captain America TV movie that we were just talking about. I don't know why I got 90s. I knew it was the 70s. And Captain America 2, Death Too Soon was also 1979 of those two movies.
Oh, weird.
I just had it wrong, and I'm like, what the hell? Because when I searched, it didn't come up in 1970s, it came out in 1990s, and it told me 1990, but no, it's 1979. I was like, I knew it wasn't right. All right, that's all. I had to correct myself.
That's fine. But anyway, that's my opinion on Red Skull. I'm not sure what you think about what you guys think about him as a villain.
I love him as a villain because of the comics and everything. So I came in this movie a little biased, as I think he's fine, but I also know a whole lot about him. But I had no problem with him, even just in the movie aspect. I had no problem with the way he was. He didn't bother me at all, and I love the design of the skull and the makeup. But I also don't like body horror, so I can see where you're coming from, though.
Like, give me a couple scars. Like, give me some scars. Give me some damage. It just looks like
abomination for that.
Like this painted Halloween mask, and it's like, I don't know, it just didn't do it for me. Mike, what do you think about Red Skull just as a villain?
As far as motivations go, he just seems to have that classic supervillain, I want power, not necessarily a reason, just wants to rule the world. Seems like a product of the time he was created in. It's like that's all they needed back then.
But even then, I think, like, even this is going to get, this might get, I don't want to say triggery or anything, but like even Hitler, who is, of course, an evil monster, he thought what he was doing was right. He thought this was the best way for things to move forward. Wrong, of course.
Every villain, or every, throughout, you look at history, like all the big dictators, I mean, they think they're doing what is right. So that makes sense. Most people who are terrible don't realize I'm a terrible human being. They think what I'm doing is the best thing for my people, or the best. I mean, some people are like, well, I deserve it, but this. It makes sense. Like, I mean, Hitler did believe what he was at the time, what he was doing was the right thing for the German people.
Right. And that's exactly the thing that we're not seeing with Red Skull is, I just, not to reiterate 300 times, but he just doesn't seem like he has any good positive motivations. And maybe I'm just spoiled on the really good Marvel villains that come out, especially Thanos, who is wonderful because he mourns what he has to do. Like, he doesn't want to do this, but he believes in his heart that eradicating half of the planet is going to be the reset button we need as a universal society. And he doesn't take a ton of pleasure in it either. This guy just likes being evil for the sake of evil, and that may work in Final Fantasy VI with Kefka, but I don't know, not in this scenario for me. Like, it just makes it boring. For me, he's extremely boring, which means a lot of the stakes of when he's fighting and battling, it's like, I don't really care. It's cool watching two dudes duke it out. That's neat. Yeah, just a boring villain for me.
Okay.
But I will say this. I will say this. Just this movie is not about the villain. It's about Captain America. It's not really about him. It's about us developing that character so we can move on with the rest of the MCU. Fair. But again, that's just my opinion.
No. Not bad. I mean, I can see where you're coming from. Like, I loved everything about their interactions, and I just bought it as, since he's a Nazi, he's just trying to take over the world because he's a Nazi. So I didn't think, but I see where you're coming from, though. Like, they didn't, like, it's not, I mean, he's not one of the great villains like you have in the MCU. You only have a few where you need to really, like, build them up, but it's Nazis. They just went, he's a Nazi, he's bad, go get him. Oh.
Yeah, basically.
But when they first meet, they also have a line where he's like, what makes you so special? I'm just a kid from Brooklyn, or something like that.
Yeah. It's cool. It's Captain America being Captain
America.
America.
I can do this all day. So can I, but unfortunately I have a tight schedule. That might be later. I can't remember.
Oh, no, I think that was
right now.
Yeah, I think that's here.
Yeah, and that's also he says, what makes you so special? And he says, nothing. I'm just a kid from Brooklyn. But I like it as you have the place, and they kind of, I think they fight a little bit, but then that's when they activate the bridge, and then Red Skull retreats. And as he's retreating with Armanzola, I thought he was going to get into a rocket. And I thought for sure this was an escape rocket. It's a freaking rocket helicopter. And I thought that was just so cool because helicopters weren't around at this time yet.
Yeah, it's very true. It's a rocket copter.
And I like how they did it. Like, they found a way, like, okay, I mean, well, actually, no, I take that back. The French, the helicopter term was in 1863. The first helicopter was 1907. So I'm wrong, but I mean, this is a futuristic version of a helicopter, so I'll take it because they probably didn't have that in this time. I was thinking, there wasn't a helicopter, but no, the helicopter was invented in 1949. The first helicopter flight across the United States. So there were helicopters, but not, so they went with something very different.
I called it in my notes a rotoplane. So I mean, I don't know.
That's more accurate. I was thinking helicopters weren't invented until after World War II with technology from World War II, but I was wrong. They were around, just not. They hadn't reached full scale production until 1942. It looks like 131 were built. So yeah, they were around in this war. Okay, enough of that. But I like all that scene. I like it when he's like, where will I sit? And he's like, here, and he throws Armanzola the key. He says, here you go.
Not a scratch. Yes.
that was perfect. Like that whole part was just so cool. And you have the whole factory exploding, and you have them trying to walk across the beam, and then Cap just jumps to kind of show you that, you know, he's Captain America. And then this is when the movie then switches to Tommy Lee Jones' character at the camp, writing the obituary or the condolence letter saying that Captain America went behind enemy lines, was missing action. He's got to declare him killed in action. And then as he's telling Peggy that, he's like, we'll talk. He's like, I can't do anything to Stark. He's a civilian, but you. And then you have all this. He's like, what the hell is all that commotion? All the soldiers are running. And it shows Captain America coming up with all the soldiers and tanks. And it's just, I mean, I started to tear up a little. It's such an awesome scene if they're just coming marching up the road. I love it. It was just, it's great. And this is when you kind of start to see, like, Peggy comes up to him and he pulls out the little radio she gave him earlier, and he's like, sorry, I couldn't call for my ride.
Yeah.
It's all shot up.
It's a good scene, right? It's a good, everyone is rescued. Everyone's back. You know, Captain America is the hero. This is the first time he's truly been the hero, and saved lives. And this is really now him in the role as this captain, you know.
From this scene on, you start really seeing him be a soldier. You know, he's planning things. He puts a team. You know, they put a team together, which involves a bunch of the people he rescued from the camp, which I like. There are from the comic, but they're also, you have an obvious Frenchman. You have, different people, not just American soldiers, which I thought was cool too, because World War II was made up of so many different nations fighting the Nazis.
Yes, that's a very good point. I don't know if yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
When they're in the bar and he's like, what do I have to do for you to join me? And he's like, open a tab.
Yeah. Again, his team of good bros. You got to have them early on in the MCU. You got to have that team of just sidekicks until you get further along, and then you don't need sidekicks anymore because you have a room full of superheroes. But
very
early
soon,
on,
actually, next movie,
you need your sidekicks. No, I'm good with these sidekicks. They're super fun. I enjoy the 2 minutes of on-screen time they have, so I'm fine with it.
This is when Haley Atwell walks in the red dress, and I like how they're all like, oh, and Bucky tries to like hit on her, and she just ignores him, or says, no, I'm waiting for the right partner, which is the same thing that Steve Rogers said when he was Little Man in the taxi cab. He's like, she's like, why don't you ask? She's like, I'm just waiting for the right partner, which I love how they continue that throughout this entire series, and it was just great. And she just kind of says that to him, and you can kind of see it. They're both starting to kind of care for each other. They're kind of building that, like, she's interested, even though I don't think Cap really understands what's happening because he doesn't know what they make comments like. She's like, you don't know anything about women, do you? I love that.
Yeah, she walks away, and Bucky's like, I'm invisible. Oh my God, I turned into you.
It's great.
But did anyone read that as a little sad? Like, for me, I actually read that. I caught this, and again, this is the first time I've seen it in 10 years, but when that happens, she comes in, and firstly, they do a really good job of cementing their relationship slowly and surely, Captain America and Agent Carter. They really do a nice job. Even before he was all buff and big, she had an interest. Like, she respected him. She had a baseline respect for who he was. Now, mind you, a smoking hot bod doesn't hurt, but that wasn't
dress
the only
doesn't hurt.
That dress doesn't hurt either. But the mutual admiration was there. The mutual respect was there.
You see it in the taxi when he's talking about how he's waiting for the right partner, and he's talking about if you start running, he'll never let you stop running. Like, you can see it, and they do a good job of showing it. Like, it's there. Like, it's starting to grow.
Very subtle. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's good. Like, it's
very good.
She does a good job with her eyes of kind of showing it without there being any lines of dialogue, just the way she conducts herself.
She is a tremendous actress. She is really good about that. But I really felt kind of bad for Bucky because I read it as PTSD. I read it as somebody who's lost all of his confidence, all of his strength. Everything he thought he was has been stripped away because of this experience. So that's how I read it.
That makes sense.
So even though it was kind of played for a laugh, because when Captain gives him that pat on the back, like, I forget what the line was, but he gives him like this jokingly pat on the back. I'm like, man, that guy's been brutalized. And I completely forgot about the big I'll say twist, the big twist of Winter Soldier, because as I've said before, I wasn't in my greatest state of minds when I saw that movie back in 2013, whenever it was.
Soon.
Yeah, soon. It's coming soon. But that's how I read it. I read it as a damaged guy, and it really struck me as a little sad.
Okay, no, that's a very good way to put it. I didn't think of it that way, but being somebody who's been in that, who I understand that type of situation, that makes perfect sense. Like, especially after everything has happened to him and he's already started to be brainwashed and all that, like, that makes perfect sense that that's kind of what they were going for too with PTSD, but they played it off for a laugh.
Makes sense.
I'll take it. It's just, and then this is when another comp, like I love the next part when you have him at the HQ and you have Natalie Dorn. For those who are Game of Thrones fans, they recognize her from there, where she is a cameo role where she's like this random secretary and she starts hitting on him and he doesn't know what to do, and then she starts kissing him and he doesn't really know what to do. He kind of kisses back, and that's when Peggy Carter just walks in. He's like, "Oh, I see you didn't mind waiting," or something like that. I can't remember the line.
You always wanted to be a soldier. Now you're like all the other ones. It's funny. She's in Game of Thrones, because I've never seen Game
Natalie
of Thrones.
Dorn, yeah.
Okay, I know her from, ready for this? I know her from the network show Elementary, which is the Sherlock Holmes with Tommy Lee Miller and Lucy Liu. She plays Moriarty. She is Moriarty, and she's great in it.
She's a good actress.
So, spoiler, if you haven't seen Elementary, my wife and I are obsessed. We've watched all 7 seasons multiple times. We kind of love
it someday.
It's good. It's really good. I don't know why.
I just started One Tree Hill because my wife is reliving the early 2000s, apparently. We're watching Smallville, now we're watching One Tree Hill. And so it'll be a while, but I might have to take that because I just started. That's One Tree Hill is 9 seasons for those that don't know. So, yeah, it'll be a while. But okay, I might take a look at that someday.
Yeah, it's good.
It's on Hulu, so I might be starting that later.
She's Anne Boleyn in the show The Tudors also for a couple seasons before her head gets chopped off. Not a spoiler because she's a historical figure and her head got chopped off. So no, not a spoiler.
Fair enough.
I mean, if when the movie's about a historical thing, like, and you say something like, nah, okay, like history, like it already happened 100 years ago, you're a little late.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, but Tudors, I don't recommend it. I watched all of it. I do not recommend it. Don't ask me why I watched it.
All right. So yeah, let's see.
I love this whole all these scenes right in this next part. Where after you have the kiss is when he's talking with Howard Stark, and then he's showing the different. You're like, oh, I see you like the shield. And he has a couple different models of the shield to show him, and he grabs the classic shield, and he's like, well, this is great. Why does it we should have more of these? He's like, that's all the vibranium we have. Something of that nature.
It's one of the rarest metals in the world, Cap.
He also says it's the prototype, so like, what are the other shields made out of then? Shouldn't that still be the choice for Cap?
Yeah. Right.
He has a good point. I don't understand. Yeah, but I mean, again, I love the shield. This is when he holds the shield, and I forget what's said. I can't remember the exact lines, but Peggy ends up saying something. Yeah.
He asks her what she thinks of the shield, and she pulls out the gun and shoots at it. So it works.
I love that because in my head before I thought there was a line like, did she know that was bulletproof or something?
That's a good point.
And then as my wife watches, she's like, she's pissed. And I mean, I'm like,
oh yeah.
I mean, it was just great because it's just perfect because he just shoots and it's just because she's mad at him because she likes him and here he's kissing some other girl and she's like, boom, boom, boom.
Which, then you got the exchange between Cap and Howard, and they're just staring in awe after her while they're talking.
And I think this is when he also says, like, why is she mad? Something about fondue, and he's like, fondue is a cheese or something like that. And I think he also says, you don't know anything about women, do you? Or something like that. There's a line in here, but I can't find it in my quotes that I'm looking up right now. But I like that. Oh, what he says, what do you think? Yeah, bang, bang, bang. I think it works. Yeah. There it is.
There you go.
Which is again one of my favorite lines from just the line in general, but it was in one of my favorite series of books, Wheel of Time. Hell has no fury like a woman's scorn.
That's it. That's the line.
And then they have another montage here where he's just attacking different bases, and it kind of shows you just like they're wiping out Hydra because he saw a map earlier when he invaded in that base in Italy, and he's just taking out base after base after base, working their way towards Red Skull, which was good.
Yeah, fun action, very visceral, kind of just very kinetic, and it moves well. And again, you see his group of friends, contributing, which is always really cool. Why are they there? They kind of showcase why they're there.
Yeah, it makes it show that it wasn't just one battle they fought and won, like they're actually fighting a war.
Yes, they're actually contributing to the war effort. They're actually, contributing. And that's a great way of putting it. It's also a good tech demo for all the cool stuff Captain America can do, right? Smacking the shield off of people and blocking things and all the cool stuff that we want to see Captain America doing, because it's super fun.
My favorite was when the French guy rolls down in front of the oncoming vehicle and puts the bomb underneath it.
That's pretty fantastic. It's great. No, that's really good.
It's a good scene. And then it finally switches to an actual mission where they go and they have to board a train because they find out Armin Zola's on this train running away to the Alps. Because they're kind of, as they've been doing this, they've been narrowing down where Red Skull can go, and he's running out of bases. He's up in the Alpine Mountain? No, not Alpine. That's in America. He's up in the mountains somewhere. I think they say, but I forget where.
Yeah, I think it's like Swiss Alps, I think it was.
Yeah. Okay, so I wasn't completely wrong then. Appalachian, that's in America. Yeah, but the whole boarding the train sequence is cool. Like they have them kind of like go down a rope or a wire to get onto the train, and it's just him and Bucky goes on this train. And even when I first saw this movie, I kind of knew where they were going. I'm like, this ain't gonna end well, because for those that know Captain America, a lot of at this time you would have known that at one point Bucky goes missing. As they're fighting on the train, Bucky ends up grabbing the shield, which is also because Captain America drops, he gets shot or something. And again, it's a reference when he's holding that shield and he's shooting, because in the comics, when Bucky becomes Captain America, he holds the shield and has a gun. Mm. So that was a reference to that. But he gets shot when he's holding the shield, and since he's not Superman, pun intended, he gets thrown off the train and then goes away. And that's the end of Bucky.
It was pretty jarring. I forgot that happened. And
yeah, they just kill him. For those that don't know, I knew. I'm like, yeah, he ain't dead. But they're like, yep, he's dead. Bye.
We'll never see him again.
Never ever. My wife actually, she was like, it's like, wow, she goes, she's like, I figured that would happen, right? It's like, oh, he's gone. That's a shame. And then I'm like, thinking in my brain, should I mention? No, I won't.
You'll just wait.
Yeah. So it was fun. It was cool. It was a shame.
2 months for us in recording time, probably, before we get there. About that, if we can keep up the schedule.
About that.
Not for release date. It'll be about 4 or 5 months away for those listening right now. But hey. And this is when they capture Zola, too, which, at least they get what they came for, which also makes sense because this is another foreshadowing to later movies, but also follows into where they capture Zola, and then the next thing you see Zola in a cell, and you have Tommy Lee Jones's character coming up to him, and he brings him a meal. And I like this. This scene was good. Like, he brings him the meal. He's like, "What is this?" He's like, "Steak." "What's in it?" "Kyle."
Yeah, I love that.
He doesn't trust him. He thinks he's going to poison him, which makes sense. You just got captured by your enemy that you slaughtered lots of people. They're like, you're not going to feel safe. And he started eating the steak himself. Like, that was great. He's like, "Oh well, you know what? I'll eat it."
Yeah, it's a good scene, right? It's a good scene of, and anytime Tommy Lee Jones is on the screen in this, it's really fun and really good.
Almost anytime he's on the screen in general, it's fun.
Yes, yeah, he is a treasure. So yeah, no, I really enjoyed that little scene, kind of setting things up for what's coming next.
And they had him the letter where he's reading the letter while he's eating the steak, when I think he realized, hey, I could have had that steak. And where it says he agreed to work with them, so all his crimes are forgiven. All that is just really good. Then you have a couple like small scenes to kind of break up before the movie gets into its final act, where you have Red Skull standing in front of the giant bomber, which will play a part very soon, and you just see all his legion of Hydra soldiers that are with him. And for those that when they do the "Hail Hydra," and the salute they do is kind of a mixture of the Nazi salute, and they add another arm to it. For those that don't know, Nazi salute is just one arm up. But they did that. I like how they did it. Like, they took the Nazi salute and changed it enough where it still fits. Like, okay, these are still Nazis, so they're doing part of the salute, but since they're Hydra, and because it's a Disney movie, we're not going to actually do the actual salute.
So that scene, he's talking to like those 8 guys in the first shot, and then they do the Hail Hydra, and then he turns around and there's that entire army that does it. Who's that initial group that he's talking to? And why are they special? Why do they get to be up on the podium?
I would say generals.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Elite soldiers. I mean, I didn't think about that.
They all redeemed a certain. They all
That
redeemed
really
a certain
dumb
amount
meme.
of. I'm sorry. So I keep stepping over you, Michael. I'm so sorry. I was gonna say they all redeemed a certain amount of box tops, and they got to stand in the front of the line and get addressed by Red Skull first.
Okay,
so
that was better than the joke I was going to go for. I was going to go for the meme joke for the one that you see where that's a guy breaking the bottle open and has the metal, and then it'll have like something way down the totem hole. That meme.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not so popular at the time of this when you're hearing this, but
I don't know that one.
Okay, that's all right. You don't need to. It's
all right,
but
it's okay. Someone got it.
And then I like it where they show Cap sitting in a ruined cafe in London, and this part, it's a very little scene of him just pouring a drink, talking to Peggy, and how he can't get drunk because he has such a regenerative healing. But I think it's where they talk about the dance too. Maybe not yet. But the thing about this part to me that really hit me is London was destroyed at this time in history. Like it was just bombed to all hell. But he stopped before he finished the job, which was another one of his mistakes that cost him the war, was not finishing the job in London. But that's neither here nor there. But that's
Quick question: is this the same bar that was earlier? It looked like it.
I don't know. I didn't think of that. I just thought it was just a bar in London, but maybe.
I read it as this is the same bar they were in, which makes it a little sadder because this is where their first good times or good times they had before he really got involved. Yeah.
Because in history, I mean, Hitler was bombing London for a while, and I want to say, God, what the fuck is his name? I can picture the fat guy, but I can't think of his name. But he was the one that didn't want to stop bombing London because he's like, we have him on. He was in charge of the Air Force. He's like, we can stop this. We can finish the job. And because it wasn't going as fast as Hitler wanted, Hitler like, nope, we're done bombing them. Attack somewhere else now instead, which is why London was able to rebuild and then end up destroying them later on. For those that don't know history.
Yikes.
That's what happened. I mean, again, if you look at World War II and the decision Hitler made, like he made so many decisions that if he would have just kept doing what he was doing, he could have won the war if he did little things differently and listened to people. And that's one thing I think is so incredible is that because he was crazy and we had a crazy man in power in history at this time is what helped lead the Allies to winning. And that always makes me like really like think about it like, like it had helped that. But okay, back to Captain America. But yeah, you're right. That could have been the cafe.
Yeah. I was gonna say, just send Patton. Just send General Patton. Anywhere he needs something to happen, just send that man. That man was crazy too.
Yes.
All right.
But this is when you have them in the meeting room. And this is when they decide to finally attack the base, and this would help. And they're like, "Oh, how can we do it? We can do this. We can do that." And he's like, "Well, knock on the front door." And they're like, "What?"
Yep.
And I mean, this next scene, the next part of this movie is just all action. They're like, because they have action throughout this movie, but there's a lot of like character building, a lot of drama. And this is when it goes full action. Like you have the first part of him. I love this part where he goes to the base on a motorcycle, a 007 motorcycle, and he's fighting Hydra soldiers and he's shooting wires that trip people. He's flames are coming out, and it's awesome. Like I was smiling, big smile during this whole part. Oh, and it has German grenades in it too, which is fitting of the time where he actually has him grab the top of one of the grenades and set it off on the guy's motorcycle, blow him up. Which I like that they had actual German grenades in here too.
Yeah, really cool. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
No. I missed that it was like the classic shape.
Yeah, it's I really like World War II a lot. Like I don't have any World War II memorabilia, but technically I don't collect that type of stuff. But I love that time. I want to someday. I don't know if it'll ever happen. I want to go to Russia where they have statues up as far as Hitler got in Russia before he was turned back. And I want to see those so bad someday in my life, but I don't think going to Russia anytime soon is a good idea.
No,
but I want to see it so much. I also want to go to Poland and see the old bunkers that they built over by the sea to stop the invasion that never came that they were expecting, which is another reason why they lost, because they were building up fortresses up in areas that never happened. I want to go see those. Those are still there.
That's cool.
Right. And then you have then you have the whole fight scene where he gets to the entrance of the base and he just starts taking out soldiers left and right. And this is a cool part. You have the flamethrower guys show up, and you have the shield being the shield where he's bouncing off soldiers and bouncing off items a little bit. Not as much as I wanted, but you get it a little bit.
Not as much bouncing as you like there, Michael.
No, it's not. You don't get it till later in the movies. But I was like, oh, there's a scene where it bounced off a couple different guys, but I was confusing my movies. That doesn't happen until later.
I'm just teasing. Yeah.
I didn't remember this part. I forgot that he gets captured this part because they don't arrest him, but they capture him.
Yeah.
Which is all part of the ploy too, I think. was to get him captured to kind of distract them from what they were really doing.
Why did they capture him? Why didn't you just kill him? I don't.
Because it's a movie.
What's that?
It's a movie.
Because it's. Well, yeah, I was saying.
No, the way I saw it is Red Skull is a very vain individual. He's a very like, I have their super soldier. What is he gonna do? I want to interrogate him, kind of in a way, or prove to him I'm better. So I can kind of like being Red Skull and being a Nazi. Like it fits that same idea that they wouldn't be intelligent. Like just shoot the guy and be done with it.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. And again, not like it's a big problem or anything, but yeah, I was just curious. It just popped in my brain. Why didn't they just blow him away?
And I just read this on Wikipedia, but I want to mention this is not in this part, but apparently that the PR guy who recognized the potential of Captain America way earlier in this movie was originally supposed to be Jeff Goldblum, but he didn't do it.
I love that. I would think that'd be great. I love Stanley Tucci in this movie. He's great, but
not the doctor, the PR guy. He's in one scene where he's like, "I got a job for you."
Oh yeah.
Guy.
Oh,
the
that
senator guy that you see here and there. That was supposed to be Jeff Goldblum.
No, that wouldn't work.
Yeah.
You need more Goldblum. If you're putting Goldblum in your movie, you need maximum Goldblum. You can't just have minimal Goldblum. Can't. Maximum.
But that's not. I'm okay with that. That didn't happen. But then, and as he's being interrogated by Red Skull, or about to be, like he's upstairs, I like how you have the Howling Commandos break through the window and come in. Like, that was cool to me too.
Yeah, very cool. Very kind of classic, kind of World War II style. Movie. Yeah.
It also makes sense because the enemy is down. The enemy thinks, okay, we stopped you, and they already think they're invincible. They're up in the mountains, which for those that don't know, Hitler did have a base up in the mountains called the Eagle's Nest. That he used one of the last bases he had left in the war, which could have been a reference of what they were going for in here.
Makes sense.
God, I know way more than I think I do.
This is like a Ken Burns documentary. This is nuts. I'm learning so much about World War II. I have no idea.
It was called the Eagle's Nest, and it was one of the last fortresses he had. But as they were invading, they got to a certain point. He had to evacuate because it was no longer safe. But it was one of the last fortresses they took.
I'm so ready for trivia night. It's be like, what was the name of Hitler's up in the air? Eagle's Nest. Boom.
It probably won't come up, but it was called the Eagle's Nest. I'm 100% positive of that one. And they did finally bomb it and raid it, but it was late. It was late in the war when they were already kind of taking over Germany. I want to say, or was it in Poland? I can't remember. It might have been in Poland. But that's okay. So I felt that was a reference. But as they're I like that. And then they also showed the assault team that's attacking. Like you have all these random soldiers who are now attacking the base too, which is nice. This is the first time you see Captain America kind of involved with actual like more soldiers and the army itself. And as you see, like again, it kind of like hits you with the traversity of war. As these guys are running to fight, they're just getting vaporized by the cannon.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just like, God, I can't imagine being like same with Normandy, just running knowing that there's a very good chance you're not going to make it, but if you take that bullet, maybe your buddy behind you will make it. Like, just can't imagine that, what people went through.
Yeah.
But, yeah, if you ever hear me, like, not making fun, but yeah, poking fun at the government or anything like that, if you served in the armed forces, you are a hero and deserve every kindness and free drink and free anything you get, because I can't imagine, like you said, Michael, I cannot imagine putting myself in the situation where death is feet away and just running towards it. It's astonishing. So if you are a service person, then you have all my love and respect. I
do know one service person that's a complete asshole, but that's neither here nor there.
No, that's fine. Listen. I'm just saying.
I do respect.
I don't know. I mean, listen. I got tons of respect. Let's put it that way.
I do too, for the most part. All but him, I have respect. And then this is also where you have like. Because after invading the base and all the soldiers are losing, I like how Hitler, Red Skull, ends up running to the bomber. He's like, fuck this, I'm leaving. He's just like, we lost, time to go. And God, that ship is fucking huge. That bomber that he gets into.
Yeah, that
thing is a monster.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say what the part that happens next, but and then you have where Captain America starts chasing after the bomber like he did early part in the movie, which again, like he starts to stop. He's like, I can't make it. Like it's going too fast. I can't chase down a bomber. And that's when Tommy Lee Jones and Peggy Carter show up in the limo from earlier. Maybe not limo, but that big car from earlier that the guy said don't put a scratch on. They're driving that vehicle. And I like that. Like I like how they brought that vehicle back.
Yeah. I like that too. I don't remember how they got it though. Like
they don't show. They don't show it. It was just there, I guess. And they just get in and drive away.
I can buy that, I guess. The fact that his personal vehicle was in the airplane hangar.
I can. Well, okay. I can buy it somewhere on the base.
I handled it. I actually asked my wife about it. I'm like, did you see how they actually got the car? She's like, doesn't matter. Like,
they're not in the scene.
point.
They're just in the car driving. They get it while he's fighting and other things are happening, I guess. But
that's cool.
It's not.
I'm okay with that. I mean, it's fine.
But I do, and then I don't know if you caught this, but when they're driving the car, they can't catch up to the bomber, so he hits a button, and they go, they have a Men in Black moment.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
Up, I'm just like, Men in Black.
Never pushed the red button. In my notes
it says Men in Black moment. That's all it was. And
Mike, I thought, hey, Mike, were you gonna say something? I'm sorry.
Oh, I just quoted Men in Black. I had that in my notes too. Never pushed the red button.
Oh yeah.
I haven't seen those movies in years. Keep it that way. But I like this part too, where this is where he finally kisses her for the first time all movie. Like all this build up, and I think they kiss. Yeah, he kisses her. And I think it's something about a dance too, like or is that later?
I think it's later.
Okay, but he kisses her and then he jumps onto the plane.
Yeah.
And I really love, throughout all this series, I love the whole like love story between these two characters and how much it plays such a big part in what happens later. But we'll get to that eventually as we continue our crusade. But it's just everything about these next things where he boards the plane by jumping on the landing gear is just awesome. He knocks a guy off the plane or something as he's getting in there. And then this is when you see that they have all these different little bombs inside the bomber that all have names of the city: Chicago, New York, because they're about to bomb the Eastern Front and just destroy America on the Eastern side.
I had a big laugh at that because I'm like, oh, they named the bombs. like, this is a special bomb for New York. This is a special bomb for Chicago.
They name bombs.
They put the names on them. Like that's adorable.
I want to say they actually do write names on bombs in World War II. They did. I'm pretty sure, like stuff like that.
It was just, I mean, I've heard of them writing like give them like pet names and things like that, like Big Bomber or City Destroyer, but they actually put the destination. It's like emailing a package.
As you find out very quickly, they're actually planes,
which is neat. I
forgot about this. I completely forgot this.
I confusion on this too. Like, wait, are these hang on. So the bombs themselves are the planes, or are these the little mini planes? They're going to drop the big bomb? What? But they are flying planes with propellers.
Yes. And I forgot that he jumps on one because one starts to go because they're getting closer to New York. So he's trying to stop it from happening. And he ends like that was to me, that was kind of odd. Like he jumps on the freaking plane. He's in the sky, holding on to this plane, trying to get into it. And then he hits the ejection seat and pulls the guy out. I mean, I was kind of curious, like, okay, is this a bombs in a plane? But I don't, maybe you're right. Maybe the bomb's inside the bomb plane, because when he crashes the plane back into the bomber, it doesn't blow up the whole bomber.
Exactly. So I was very confused by this, because if the idea that this is supposed to be an unmanned thing, but there's a person in it, like why would you need a person to pilot your bomb? But I guess it's the 1940s, that would make sense. But that bomb didn't seem that big, so you're going to destroy the entire eastern seaboard with that? And
Hiroshima, an atom bomb wasn't that big.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, that's very true. But I mean, I don't know. So I guess the idea was that it just confused me because they made those planes look like bombs. They look like bombs with propellers, so it was a little confusing for me. Well, obviously, it wasn't a bomb because it didn't blow up the stealth bomber.
Probably have Tesseract technology in the bomb, so the bomb could be a lot smaller inside the other bomb.
I mean, that's fine. I'm dig with that. I'm down with that.
We'll go with that. That's my explanation to it.
Good. Mike, do you have a different explanation for this?
I just have it in my notes as piloted kamikaze bombs.
Fair enough. There you go.
Well, yeah, even if you eject and you drop a nuclear bomb and you eject, you're going to come down right into the nuclear bomb anyway. So you're not going to help. You're not going to win. Like, oh, I ejected. Oh shit! It just blows you up anyway.
Even if it's a plane that drops other bombs, why make the plane look like bombs? Just to subvert the audience, I guess.
To confuse dumb people like me, staring at the screen, going, "Is that a flying bomb?" But and then just sit there staring at it for. They wanted
to confuse Bill Dum Dum Tucker.
That's right. Did you look at my high school yearbook? That's all people told me that.
Okay,
also, when Cap's riding on that plane, he pulls the one guy out and basically throws him into the propeller and turns him into red mist.
Good.
That might be more gruesome than the scene in Iron Man 2 of the two guards hanging.
He was
just gone.
I didn't even notice it.
Oh, how did you not? It was like
I didn't notice it at all.
In the next shot, he tosses the guy into the propeller. The next shot is like a trail of red mist. Like it's It's gross. It was like, whoa, that's pretty
And
cool.
he ejects the other guy, so he got off easy.
Yeah, that guy just gets to float down harmlessly. That guy was toast.
Yeah, I did not catch that part at all.
That was great.
I remember the guy getting thrown out and taking the parachute and going down to the water to die anyway because they're above the Arctic. But I don't remember if the guy getting propelled her.
Yeah, you have to go back and watch it later. It's something else.
That's not going to happen, but I should. I agree with you. So, Mike, do you want to talk about what are your thoughts on the Red Skull fight when he goes into the room?
I mean, it's kind of obvious that he's walking up slow to the chair. It's like, Red Skull's not going to be in that chair. And of course, sure enough, he appears behind him and starts shooting at him with the Tesseract gun, whatever. But I mean, all in all, it's a pretty mild fight, I thought.
It's not a whole lot of action in it. I mean, you get that scene where he throws his shield and breaks the cube compartment open because you have to continue the movie on. But I mean, I liked it because I just like Red Skull a lot. Like he's one of my favorite villains, so I'm a little biased in this movie.
That's so funny. Hey, listen, you know what? We all have our favorites, and I'm not gonna.
I'm not saying the film version. I'm saying the comic character.
That's fair. Again, I can't speak to the comic version, so there you go.
Well, the comic version wears a green jumpsuit with a swastika on the front of him, so I completely understand why they didn't do it.
No, that's not a thing you want to do in this day and age.
In the original comics, that's what he looks like. But in the comics, Red Skull is a very intelligent character. So
yeah, in this movie he just goes blow it up.
We didn't get the smart skull doing smart things in this movie as much as we could.
No smart skulls. This is a dumb skull blowing things up because he's like, well, I lost that one. Let's blow up this $10 million facility.
He grabs the fucking cube and just holds it after he breaks the compartment. Like, okay, if you have something that's creating that kind of energy, why would you pick it up and hold it in your hands? Like, this seems like a good idea, doesn't it?
Because, like you said, very accurately, he's dumb skull and he's numbskull. Oh,
numbskull. That was good.
That's it. I'm leaving. Enjoy the rest of the show,
Show's over, guys. We did it. We're done.
So
we'll see you next week.
I'm gonna resist the urge to call him numbskull for the rest of the show.
He's not in it for much longer.
Yeah, I know. He doesn't have much longer.
Dies in quotations. He dies.
Yeah, so he just like a silly goose. He just grabs at this cube of ultimate power, and he just disintegrates. No, well, he doesn't die. He gets sucked up into the ether, which I thought it was a super cool scene.
Even when I saw this movie the first time and the second time when Age of Ultron came out, before I knew anything where they were going with this, I said he did not die. You can see a beam shoot up into the rainbow, which those that just seen Thor, like we did 2 weeks ago, he's going somewhere. Like he's not dead. He's teleporting.
No, I don't think he's even mentioned.
Right.
He's not ever mentioned again until way later in the series.
Way later. Okay. That's fine.
This is... Which I was kind of partly, I think he doesn't show up in any other Captain America movie because he really should have been in Civil War because Hugo Weaving didn't want to come back. Hugo Weaving said that he was. Yeah, he said he was done. He just didn't want to do anymore. Like, I did the one, I'm good. There's some kind of comment, I don't have it pulled in front of me, where he did say he did not want to come back though.
Huh. Okay.
So that could have played a big part in why there wasn't, because there really should have been a Red Skull in the other movies. Like in Winter Soldier, he really should. There's an easy spot they could have put him in that would have fit perfectly, and they didn't. They go with a different actor, which I'm not going to say because it's a spoiler. I don't want to talk about the movie yet. So I thought for sure he was going to be in the second movie, and there was going to be a character in that movie that was going to pull off his mask and go, "Ha ha, I'm Red Skull," but they didn't go that route. No, I thought Hugo Weaving didn't want to come back, though. I'm pretty sure I read that. I read that while we've been talking. I can't find it.
That's fine. But yeah, him going into the Starscape was good. And then so I'm trying to remember now what happens to the Tesseract. Oh, it falls to the floor.
Yeah, it burns through it.
It does an alien moment and goes to the floor.
It goes to the floor, and then so Cap goes, well, ultimate source of power. That's that.
Well, he also hit the plane when he throws his shield at one point. He hits someone gets thrown into it. They hit the controls and fuck up the controls. But then Red Skull hit the autopilot and he can't stop it because he doesn't know how.
Right, and that's the. Well, here's the weird. So here we're now. So now we're getting to the point where it's kind of like the final plane thing. So yeah, Red Skull. They're fighting. They hit the controls and puts the plane into a pitch. Like downward pitch. We actually created some very cool fight moments. As cool as that fight got because it's pretty lackluster. But then Red Skull just puts it on autopilot. So what I'm thinking is, why don't you have that on in the first place? Autopilot to death. And then he puts it on autopilot. And now Steve Rogers, Mr. Captain America, is behind the yoke that's broken. It's not though, because he's able to. So the whole thing is that he can't put it in a safe place. I can't put this in a safe place. It's on autopilot, right? So you can't flick the switch and take it off. But somehow you're gonna put this in the ocean, so no one can get hurt, so this thing doesn't destroy New York. None of that made any sense at all. What do you mean you can't put it in a safe place? Just land it somewhere.
He's not a smart man. He doesn't know how to ride. He doesn't know how to fly.
And my wife's big hang-up was he could control the pitch of the plane, but he couldn't control the yaw. He couldn't turn it at all.
Right. And what do you mean he can't fly the plane? He instinctively knew exactly how to fly the bomb plane. You know how to fly the bomb plane.
Okay.
He's getting dog.
You got
fought.
me on that one. I forgot about that. You got me.
He was getting dog fought, and he was like dipping and diving. I'm like, man, they teach that in basic training? Do they?
Yeah, but this plane's much bigger than that one. So
This is true. I'm not saying he has to. I'm not saying he has to do aerobatics, but you can't just put that down like safely someplace, and then we can harvest the technology.
Okay, I give you that one. I didn't really. I was too busy crying when he starts talking to Peggy Carter.
Which is incredible.
I actually literally had tears. I was even though I knew exactly. I've seen all these movies. I'm like,
It was very touching, and the one that got me, that actually did get me on that, was when she said, he says rain check on the dance, and I'm like, oh, that links up so beautifully to another thing I can't talk about because it could technically be a spoiler way down the line. But it was really cool.
Because I've already edited the other one you said earlier.
Okay, well, it links up to another scene way down the line that was very touching, and I was like, okay, that's really. And then they're kind of talking to each other as if they're gonna go do things, and kind of just talking to each other normally, which again was a nice moment. They handled it well.
The part that hit me when that scene starts, Tommy Lee Jones with I think Howard Stark, and they both leave the room. He's like, we gotta go, and that hit me because like they know exactly he's done. They know he ain't coming home. So like, give her some space. And
wow, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, it's very little, but you'll see him like point, and they both leave the room to let her have her moment with him because they know he's dead. And that's what hit me. That's what made me even more tear up. She's like, don't be late. 8:00. I expect you there. He's like, I'll be there. And I'm like, oh no, he won't be there.
Yeah,
it cuts off mid-sentence, and she just gets static back. It hurts.
It is so.
It works.
Good.
It is. It's a sad moment.
The fact that if you think about he should be able to fly a plane, just forget about that part. It's good.
No, it's a very effective. And again, I understand you're creating a good moment from something that doesn't make sense. So they're basically trading moments. Like, all right, do we have them like land the plane and then have the tearful hello and that kind of cliche, or do we just say he can't land? He has to put it in the ocean or someplace and have this teary goodbye over radio. I think the trade-off is fine. I think I'd rather have the radio goodbye as opposed to the land the plane and then seeing them together again. And also you need to set up the fact that he's, well, as you learn in this movie, as we'll see in a little bit later, the whole bit of him being in like the present day, which is very cool. So you need to create that, and if that's what you had to do to make that happen, then fine. It just didn't make any sense at the time. I'm like, we just land it.
I didn't think of that. I just thought since he hit autopilot or the controls are damaged, he couldn't really control it very well. That's how I took it. But now that you're saying it,
like Mike said. You could do the yaw, but you can't do the pitch. Like that's what happened.
I just want to set up the metaphor of the captain going down with the ship.
Hey, all right, very good.
I'll take that. I mean, in the comics, I want to say it's a rocket he's strapped to with Red Skull, and then that's why a rocket he's trying to stop, and that's why he goes underwater. But I could be wrong. I could be from one of the cartoons.
Okay.
But that's how in whatever the hell in my memory I have this, that's how he ends up being frozen because, as we all know, this is. And the movie tells you, he crashes in the ocean and then he's frozen in time for like 57. I forget when it originally happened. It was he came back in the 60s or 70s, only 20 some years because his first Silver Age appearance. For those that don't know, is Avengers 4. I want to say Avengers 4 or 6. I can't remember when he first shows up again because they find him frozen.
Yeah, I was telling my wife about that. She's like, so how long has he been frozen? I said, well, in this continuity, it would have been 7 years. Original in the 60s, it would only been 20. So that's wild to think about.
Avengers 4,
Gotcha.
I'm pretty sure. I can't find because I'm searching things that are not cooperative. Yep, Avengers 4. I really, really want that book someday. I've seen it, but I'll never own it. I want it.
There you go.
It's first Silver Age appearance, Captain America, because I will never see the 1941 appearance or 1939. So, but that's neither here nor there. So
yeah.
and then it shows, you know, America winning the war and the planes flying over and everybody being, you know, America in 1940, which I liked all that too. That all made sense.
Yeah. Did anyone think the very, very last bit of this movie, what I call the wrap up, when they have all the, you know, his pal, his good bros in the pub cheering, yeah, and everyone's kind of hanging out. It's a lot like Thor and how it ends.
Yes.
Thor ends the exact same way. All his pals are sitting there eating and drinking and partying it up, and you know, and then there's that sad moment where Agent Carter, you know, looks through the Cap file and sees skinny Cap, and I thought that last little scene of the little boy with the trash can shield.
Oh yes,
it was very cute, and because for me it read as he's gone, but he's still a symbol.
Yes,
and that's
100%.
Which ties into my feelings about Cap, is that he is a symbol. He is this archetype. But it just struck me, I'm like, dude, this is just like Thor. This is all right. All his pals are drinking, having a good time. And
I mean, it's the same idea that's not MCU related, but this is Halo related. And we just talked about it on the show at the time of this recording on Video Game Commercials episode, where like the Spartans, I mean, they are a symbol. So whenever they go missing, it's always MIA. It's never killed in action. The same idea. Like Captain America is a symbol to the people. So it makes sense. You'd have the hero, and he can't, you know, you have to, like, people are going to remember him.
That's cool. He's the front man of the band, right? And
also,
and a good
you
one.
can see, like, they're trying to search for him, but they've been following an energy signal, which I don't think I caught this last time, and that's how they find the cube with Stark piloting a plane, because they're following the energy signal, and they find where the cube, but the cube had fell so many miles away from when the bomber goes down, so they can't exactly find him either.
Right.
Which
they find the Tesseract and all that. But then you think the movie's over. I actually thought the movie was over. It was.
You forgot this?
I did. 10 years. 10 years, Mike. 10 years. But then we find Captain America awakening in bed. This is a pretty cool scene. I'm glad they actually stuck this to the end of this movie and not like end credits.
Yeah, because it's part of the movie.
Yeah, he awakens in bed. There's Agent Carter. Everything seems kind of off. He realizes everything is off, notices that the baseball game that they're playing on the radio, he was actually there. He remembers the day and the date and who was playing.
Well, the thing about that, especially in the 1940s, I mean, baseball would have been huge. That's like the main sport you have. So people would remember something like that in general.
I can see that. I mean, especially he was a kid. He's like, I think he said it's like, I was 12.
Yeah.
You were 12. You remember stuff like that, right?
I mean, I bought it. I had no issues with that.
No, none at all. None at all.
You think they would have been smarter?
No,
that's what I said. It's like take a game from when after he went missing, so he wouldn't know.
But I guess it also goes in like they weren't thinking like that either. They were just, because this is supposed to be the same. This part of the movie is happening the same week as Iron Man 2 and Hulk.
Makes sense.
There's one part where Nick Fury has to leave in Iron Man 2, where he, like, after the donut, we have places to be, is because he's going to this movie.
So weird. What an eventful week. I tell you. Give everyone vacation.
There's a name for it. MCU did name it. They call it something Fury's Week, but I can't remember what it is.
Okay.
I didn't realize Fury that. Week. I don't know.
But there he is. He shows up. He's in the simulation room. He runs out, gets cornered in the middle of Times Square, culture shock. And
can you imagine?
In modern day. Yeah, imagine that. That's where you wake up. They put you in New York. They could have put you in Kansas. I'm like, some fields here. That's no big deal.
Kansas already taken.
Smallville.
Yeah. I've watched way too much Smallville, guys. Oh God, is it painful?
But and so they put him in the middle of New York. He's in Times Square. He's confused, and that's basically it. And then he has his final last line where he says, I think Fury asks him, "Are you okay?" And he says, "I had a date," which is very sweet.
Yeah.
Very sweet. That's still all he's thinking about. Asleep for 70 years. Yeah, sweet.
The fact is, like, if you're asleep, you don't realize it's been like it's just been a day, or you don't. Your brain's not going to be able to comprehend what happened.
Yeah, he went to sleep, and woke up 70 years later. Yeah, he wouldn't know. It's like Novocaine. It's like anesthesia or Novocaine. It's just you go out and you're like, oh, that's great. And you come back.
Novocaine just numbs you. It doesn't pass you out, I guess.
I'm thinking of anesthesia or whatever.
Yeah, unless you inject Novocaine into you, maybe then I'll pass you out. Who knows? But hey, don't try it.
Still stuck on Numbskull.
Numbskull, a good old Numbskull.
Oh,
hey, listen.
And when he does meet Nick Fury, I looked and you see the scars. They do kind of look like claw marks on his eye.
I noticed that too.
And I said it to my wife. She's like, nope. She's like, I'm like, it's there. She's like, nope. You're just making your own thing.
No, I noticed it too. What
I don't think
I liked
they
about the
planned.
scene is it reminded me of the beginning of Prey that came out in 2017, where your character
Yes.
wakes up in a simulation, then breaks out of it.
Yes, it's exactly what I thought.
Never
And
played it.
Very similar.
oh,
I
let
really
me
need
tell
to
you,
play that game.
sidebar. Prey is so good.
It's
I
so
played the
good.
2006 one. Does that count?
No.
That's not so good.
Nothing to do with it. Yeah, sidebar. Play Prey. Please play it because they need to make a second one. They said they're not. That's sad.
If you like
I think it's
Bioshock, you'll like Prey.
Yes.
I don't like Bioshock.
No, it's wrong.
We're gonna have some words after this conversation, Michael. I think.
I haven't played it in years. I'm actually surprised. I'm really surprised we haven't gone back to it yet in games my mom found that somebody still hasn't picked it. But hey, maybe at the time of this, the time you hear this, it might finally be on the show. Who knows?
Hey,
It might be
listen.
finally picked.
Put Bioshock on there. I'll be happy to guess. I've played the game multiple times.
Good
I like
Spooktober
Bioshock,
episode.
but I never played
Love
the.
Infinite.
I never played 2, and I played the first one. I just didn't enjoy it when I played it, but that could have been time and place too. All right,
Just
and also because I pay attention now to these movies, the title card doesn't show up till right after this part.
Huh.
Again, they don't show you the title of the movie until the very end of the movie.
they
They do
figure
that
you
in
bought a
Thor
ticket.
too.
No, you're there.
Makes sense.
So
Yeah.
and I think this is they have some credits, and then they have a scene where they have Captain America punching bags and just knocking it
Yeah,
off the thing.
it's
trying to
straight
cook.
out of Avengers.
Right, I thought so too.
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's just
Okay.
chopped up. But yeah, it's the scene, the first scene you see with Cav where he's in the gym. Yeah, like I said, it's just cut up from that scene, but it's
Okay.
and then leads into the trailer for Avengers.
Well, then you have all the credits, and then you have a straight up just trailer, which I like it when you have scenes that are exclusive to that movie. They're not like, let's go borrow a different scene. Like that kind of bugs me a little bit.
Well, hang on. So there was no the one we're talking about where he's punching the punching bag. That's at the very end.
Yeah, that is
Yeah,
the stinger.
That is
That
the
leads
end
into
credit
the trailer.
stinger. Yeah. It's funny because I'm watching like I've seen this before, and I haven't seen this movie in 10 years. And I've seen then you mentioned it's Avengers. I'm like, of course I've seen Avengers maybe 10 times. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
'cause he in
Three
Avengers he punches the bag, it flies across the room, he walks over and picks up another one, and then Fury walks in. So they just kind of chopped it up a little bit.
gotcha.
But we'll
And
get to that
there
next
is a short film. Wait, no, that released later, so we don't need to. We'll talk about that later. Okay, the thing that we mentioned on Thor's hammer, a funny thing that happened, that was actually on this Blu-ray.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what I read.
Okay, the next one is on the Avengers one, I think. We'll talk about that next episode. Yep. Yeah, and then they have a trailer for Avengers, which I kind of like. I mean, I remember when I saw that in theaters, I think I just went, wait, actually, no, I might not have it, because when I saw it early, but I can't remember. But either way, when I saw this, I'm like, that would have got me so hyped for the next movie. So hyped.
Yeah.
I remember talking about Avengers with people for, like, as it came out, like, we were talking about that movie for months, like how, and before it came out, how people had waited years to see that movie.
It was a big event.
It was a big event. Yes, it was. So, and that's the next movie, right?
Yep.
Yes, it is.
Yay, it's good. I can't wait. It's gonna be good. I have the Blu-ray for that one. An actual
Yeah.
disc I shall plop into a player.
Okay, we should go to Shelfer Box.
Let's do
We
that.
kinda skipped
Let's do
part.
that so we can. Yeah, this has been a long one.
Mike, why don't you go first?
Man, like it's gonna go in the box.
What?
It's a good origin story for Captain America, but I am not a history buff, so like everything outside of that is just not my cup of tea. Captain America's never been one of my top favorite characters either, so it just wasn't for me. Essentially, it's like it's a good movie. I could see why people like it, but it's just not for me.
Okay, I'll take it. How about you, Bill?
Surprisingly, this is going to go on the shelf. If you had asked me before this recording, I would have said box all day. And even though I really don't like, damn it, Numbskull.
Numbskull's fine. Numbskull's fine.
Even though I don't like Numbskull at all in this movie, either visually or as a villain character, I do really respect the Captain America development. And even though I don't like Captain America as a character, I respect who he stands for, and I respect his role in the greater picture. And this is a kind of movie that needs to happen because he does. And again, I can't remember if he even has any other sort of arc throughout the MCU, but I like Captain America enough, and I really love the visual style of this. I think this movie looks beautiful. Even like the interior of the stealth bomber looks great. Like has this cool, again, retro mixed with technology. It does just enough to stay on the shelf for me. And Numbskull can just stay up there in space. We don't need you. See you in 10 years.
18 movies.
See you in 18 movies. But yeah, this one's going on the shelf. I'm surprised.
Okay, and I'll go last. This is obviously going on the shelf. I mean, I loved this movie the first time I saw it. Loved it the second time. This time I was tearing up a little bit during this movie. I just had the biggest smile on my face. Like my wife called me a little kid. I love Captain America. Like I just get so giddy when I see him on screen. I mean, not Challenger Captain America, but it's just, and this movie is so good to me. Like I love this movie. On the shelf, I will recommend it to everybody, and I don't like when people tell me that I'm wrong, but they have. I understand. I understand people don't like this movie, but I'm also I know I'm a little biased because I'm a Captain America fan and I love World War II stuff. So, yeah. And as we already did discuss a little ahead of time, we are doing Avengers as our next episode. So stay tuned for that next month. That's going to be a long one. Because this broke our record so far in what we do in the MCU movies, but Avengers will probably break that, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, and they keep getting longer and longer and longer.
This is gonna turn from like a couple hours to like an afternoon. Like we need to block out.
It's gonna be 3 hours.
Time, like proper time to talk about.
I'm calling it 3 hours for Avengers right now.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have to start breaking them up into 2 parts.
I don't know. Yeah,
they gotta go. That's gonna probably happen. That might have happened already at the time of this recording because I'm doing KOTOR in games my mom found in a couple weeks. So that that might be that if it hits 4 hours, we're breaking it in 2 parts. I already told them nope, it might happen because Stu can talk about Star Wars all day long. I found out. So we're bringing out someone else on that's a big Star Wars fan. So that should be interesting.
Nice.
All right, well, that about wraps up this episode. As you listen to this, you should catch up on all the other MCU films episodes that we already have released, so you can be ready for Avengers next month. We also have a regular Game My Mom Found episode at this time. There'll be plenty for you to listen to. Also, tons of comic book episodes you listen to. So please take a look at all those because we love hearing from you. Also, one thing I do want to ask, if you're still listening to this, which hopefully you are, if you like this episode, please tell somebody. Make a tweet about it, make a Facebook post. Let people know that you enjoy Game My Mom Found because we want more people to listen to us. So, and that's one thing you can always do to help out the show. It doesn't cost you any money. Just put our name out there. And it's easy to do. It's all one word with different capitals or spelled out different words. However you want to do it. It's an easy one to remember. Because Google will find you either way. All right. And then I also want to give an awesome shout out to our awesome intro, courtesy of Balby, a.k.a. Mike Stoney from ZP Bite the Bullet. Song is the Cool Kid Squad. So definitely check him out. Link will be in his YouTube channel. Link will be in the show notes. I think that's enough. I've said plenty. All right. We will talk to you guys later. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See you.